McDaniel can't move on it. Now he does. The shot, passing down. Rebound, score!
Hey, welcome to the Tone the Crease podcast, where we talk about anything and everything to do with the NHL. I'm SJ.
WillyDubz here. What's up, everyone? Hope everyone's doing good. For those who hasn't seen an episode for a while, apologies. Some stuff in life kind of came up for both of us, so we've been away for a little bit, but I think we're back officially now.
Wilson was busy getting tossed out of softball games.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's not even tossed out. I didn't actually get tossed out, but I think the joke is... Actually, I'm not even going to bother spewing the story.
I want this take for our audience members that are listening, how many of you there are. If your softball team is getting destroyed in games by 20 or more runs per game, is it okay to be mad and or quit? I want to know. Because for me, like, why are you even if it's recreational, why are you even showing up? Why?
I think for me, it's I paid my money, so it's like if I don't show up, it's just I lose it anyways, right? So it's like, but then at the same time, it's like if you're losing by that much, again, there's a frustration. I think my frustration is more the lack of effort amongst my team. Like once you start to lose by like 4 or 5 runs, like
don't get me wrong,
the lack of effort.
Do I think teams should be undefeated? No. Do I think you should be curb stomping everyone? No.
No. Yeah.
But are you worse than the Angels in the outfield before they got the Angels? I think we got some problems, you know.
Yeah.
Like there's this if anyone ever cuts to watch Angels in the outfield, there's this part where one of the outfielders when they suck is singing, "And we're the boys of summer, and it's a big bummer. No matter who we play, we give the game away, 'cause we can't win. That would be a sin." And then Danny Glover's character cuts him off, right? If your team is that bad, I feel like it's okay to sit it out. I don't know. For me, just going into every game knowing you're getting your ass kicked is just not fun. It's just not.
Oh no, I might.
It's like some Washington Generals level.
I am full on debating skipping next week's game, but we'll see about it. I mean, I play on 2 teams, so the Wednesday one's the one that sucks ass. I don't honestly, if they find a way to listen to this podcast, I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna say it out here. We fucking you fucking suck. And then my Thursday team's actually the good team.
Why are you on strike? Because we suck.
Yo. Honestly, the Thursday team's at least good, so but it sucks that we got rained out yesterday, so that kind of happens. Oh, well.
I don't know, man. There's certain things, again, I'm okay with losing, but, there's a certain point where it reaches, there's a point where it reaches from constructive loss to this is just not amusing.
No, okay, I'll tell everyone a story.
It's amusing for everybody watching, but not amusing if you're playing.
Yeah, I'll tell a story just to kind of indicate my frustration before you actually hop into our pod. So basically, it's runners on first and second, I think 1 out, and the ball gets hit to our shortstop. So the runner on second is pretty slow, and so is the runner on first. So they have 2 options. Throw to third and get third and at least get 1 out, or throw to second and get an out and maybe try to turn a double play. Or you can also throw to third, get the out, and maybe try to throw back to second and get the double play as well. All viable plays, right? Nah, the fucking shortstop tries to throw it to fucking first. Throw doesn't even make it. Everybody's safe. Bases loaded, 1 out. And the next guy, I think, cranks it over my head. Unfortunately, nothing I could do because I think the guy hit it way past the lights. So nothing I can do about that. But yeah, my team in a nutshell can't do anything right, even at this point in the season.
It's their team is so bad, apparently. Imagine, the 2024 White Sox and the 2025 Rockies did a fusion dance, but only got the worst players from both teams. That's how bad it is.
This seems bad. I wouldn't wish this upon my worst enemies, to be honest.
Quick question: did you have any takes on the celebrity deaths that rocked us this week in any way, or not really?
I mean, not really. I mean, I'm assuming you're. Which one are you referring? There's a couple. So which one do you want to talk about?
Well, both Osborne and Hogan. Granted, I'll say this: even though obviously I know Ozzy is a musician, weirdly for most of my life he was more known as a reality TV guy. So he
had that show, right? He had that TV show with his wife and shit, right? So, I knew him more for his music because I did listen to a couple of his songs here and there, and he had the one with Post Malone, I think. Take What You Want? That one was one of my faves, but I mean he's not the main artist in that one. But anyways, the point is I'm kind of shocked he made it to that age because I mean with his drug use and everything, I feel like. I'm not saying he should have died.
I don't know, man. Keith Richards is still kicking around, and that guy like puts Aussie's use to shame, I think.
Oh, I know, but I think my thing is like anytime you do use drugs as much as those guys do, it is a little bit surprising they make it as far as old as they do, right? So a little bit of surprise there, but again, never want to see someone. You never want to wish death on anyone, or like you never want to see a celeb like die, right? So unless they're an asshole, maybe you. I'm not saying you wish for their death, but then at that point you're like, kind of deserved. But in Ozzy's case, not really.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan, like for me, is a complicated one because for people who have listened at all, I'm a pretty big wrestling fan, and Hulk Hogan, the performer, I think is, if you talk about the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, it's like in some capacity. I know Mount Rushmore is only 4 people, but like in some capacity, everybody has some version of like Hogan, Flair, Stone Cold, The Rock, and Cena, right? Like those are like the 5, and then maybe some people don't have Flair, some people don't have Cena, maybe some people don't have The Rock because really when it was The Rock and Austin head-to-head, Austin was the guy. But like in some capacity, you have those guys, and Hogan was really like Hogan was one of the first mainstream superstars in pro wrestling. Like everybody knew he was. He was on like cereal boxes. He was in Hollywood. He did movies. He was, larger than life. Like he was the American icon, right? Everyone knows his Real American theme song. You know what I mean? And then when he did the NWO, like the NWO New World Order was like the coolest thing growing up. One of the coolest things growing up as a kid, like him, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and like that part, what he meant to like a wrestling fan growing up, you can't ever change that, right? But I do admit, like, there is some stuff, obviously when more stories come out about him, there's literally a 30-minute clip on YouTube about all the lies Hulk Hogan has told, which some of them are just really funny. Like, I think there was one that talked about how he used to fight Pride fighters. So Pride is like a different MMA organization in the 70s, but Pride wasn't formed until 1997.
Okay, I don't know how he thought he could get away with telling that one, but
Or like he said Elvis was a big fan of his and would watch him wrestle, but Elvis died by the time Hulk Hogan actually became a pro wrestler.
Is there a reason why he like kind of spewed this kind of nonsense? Because it's quite easy to. I think it's sad because at least some of the
that's what makes it funny, right? It's like you
these
don't
two
need
lies
it.
just like there's no shot. Like you can fact check these easily, and and it's not even close, right? Like the Elvis one, for example. Like Elvis died before he ever like started to wrestle, or he started to wrestle.
Yeah.
I guess so that was never. It wasn't like there was like a 1 year, 2 year that they could have overlapped, but they didn't, right? But this was like a blatantly like just off. And then I think the other one you mentioned too was quite a blatant lie.
Yeah, and that's just an example, right? And then there's also, obviously the racism that came out during the Gawker lawsuit. And it's just, I think there was something about like racist remarks he made when he was calling his son, who was in prison or jail at the time. And then obviously, like people hate on him for grifting, but honestly, every person post-retirement that's in the entertainment field kind of grifts after they retire. So it's like, I don't really care about that. So it's kind of complicated in a regard, but I'm never gonna I feel bad because at the end of the day, like somebody, like when someone passes away, regardless of how you feel about them, unless they're just unanimously hated, like at the end of the day, somebody lost like a father, if maybe they had to bury someone early, like a son, like a friend, a husband, etc. And honestly, say what you want about Hogan, as much as some of the stuff did come out about what a jerk he was to certain coworkers and stuff, like he's one of the highest Make-A-Wish guys, I think, in terms of like doing Make-A-Wishes for WWE. He's one of the higher ones. He's always available for media, even when he was near, like when he passed away, he was still doing media tours, sorry, not media tours, but like doing meet and greets and like meeting kids and stuff like that. And even Mick Foley is mentioned, one of Hulk Hogan almost in a way taught him how much you need to do to interact with fans to like be the guy. And like, if a kid like grew up on all the virtues of Hulkamania and like ended up becoming better for it, I'm never going to hate on that. Right. Like I'm never going to hate on someone who, like, regardless of what they've done otherwise, like if you've touched the life of someone in a positive way, I can't really hate on that. So it's kind of a complicated one, but overall, I think where I kind of stand with it is like, I'm more in the performer and I'm more in like the impact and legacy he's left in a positive way. And I think you can just do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, you don't. It kind of sucks is like with all the stuff like between the lies and some of the racism and all the stuff that happened with them. But again, like, you know, you can mourn the performer part of him, but I guess you don't have to necessarily mourn the person that, I guess, the part of him that was outside of wrestling, right? Like,
yeah,
again,
because the
you
reality
can
too
separate
is
those two things.
in entertainment is like there's not a lot of people. I don't want to say who are like who haven't had some type of scandal or controversial thing happen. You know, there's that saying, "Don't meet your heroes," but like in wrestling, especially, and you see it in pro sports a lot too, right? Like guys post career, guys who gave you maybe everlasting memories as like a kid. It's like for example, Warren Sapp, right? Warren Sapp was one of the best defensive players in football, right? And you know, there's been a lot of controversy with him post his career being done. Maybe you're a Steelers fan. Antonio Brown is a good example, like another example of that, right? Like OJ Simpson, if you were a Bills fan, right? Like there's a lot of even in wrestling, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin has had his issues. You know, like there's just a lot of different people. Theo Fleury is another good example. Theo Fleury's done a lot of good, but there's been a lot of controversial with him, right? And it's like I think you just kind of learn in life that there's not always black and white. There's a lot of gray with people. And I think if you take the part that you find, like the good parts from the gray, I think that's okay.
Yeah, I think to an extent, yeah, that's fine. Like at the end of the day, like I said, you can mourn the performer part of him, but like you just probably you don't really want to look at the other stuff he really did, to be honest. That's kind of the way it is, right? Like you don't want to look at the other.
And I think you can like understand like what he did was wrong to an extent, all those other things, but still understand the impact and mourn that, and that's okay.
Well, I was gonna say too,
if
like
was he
a great performer? Yes. Was he also not a great person? That like again, those things can both exist at the same time. Yes, that's also yes, right? But again, you can mourn like I said, like you can. I guess you can extract the good, which was the the legacy he left in.
And in this case, like right? None of it at least was criminal. Like it wasn't like, you know, maybe what Michael Jackson allegedly could have done, or like, you know, what Bill Cosby did, right? So it's a different layer as well.
Yeah, I think our thing is like in no way are we like agreeing with what he did. It's just like again, we're just trying to say there are definitely worse things out there. Like he could, like, you know, Hulk didn't murder like a whole like family of 5 or something ridiculous or something like awful, right?
Or like again, didn't do what Bill Cosby did, right? So
oh geez, yeah. Yeah. Let's not talk about that one. Yikes.
All right. So yeah, sorry. I know that was like a really long preamble, and we haven't talked hockey once yet. So we'll kind of cut to that. So today it's been kind of a really light hockey period. So like I said, we're kind of doing a little bit more fantasy hockey. This episode's another fantasy hockey preview. So what we want to do is start organizing our initial, maybe preliminary rankings for players, but it's not a straight ranking. It's kind of a tier list and how we view guys. So there's a couple of rules here in terms of how we look at things. One, these are the stats. So this week we're gonna do the goalies, which if anyone's ever done fantasy hockey, you know, goalies are like that saying, can't live with them, can't live without them. That's exactly what goalies are. They're the position that drives you the craziest in fantasy hockey, but you know you need at least one good one if you're gonna win.
Well, I was gonna say with goalies too, there's only a few that are just, I don't want to say surefire bets, but like you know what you're expecting out of them, right? The rest of them are, I hate to say it does feel like a crapshoot from year to year. There's some years where, you know, you draft 3 guys and they turn out to be probably the 3 best goalies, or not the 3 best goalies, but 3 really good goalies, and your team's just kind of balling. And then in another year, you draft 3 goalies and like maybe only one of them's good, and the other 2, you know, you end up having to drop and having to like work it out on the waiver wire, right? Like it's very volatile to say the least. I think
it's also annoying because they are really valuable, but you can't take them early because of that propensity for the return not being what it should be. So, like, if you take a goalie in the first round, he's the best goalie, but he might finish as the 8th best goalie, right? Whereas, like, if you do take maybe a Makar, a Hughes, a McDavid, the odds of them finishing at the peak of their position is just a lot higher. And also, the other thing, too, is, honestly, sometimes, I've noticed this recently in leagues, it's annoying because sometimes a lot of teams will only have, like, 1.5 reliable goalies, maybe, and then that guy who hits on that third goalie or that guy who hits on that number 2 goalie that becomes a number 1 is the guy who ends up winning the league or going really far, because it's just that found value is so important. So it's a really weird minefield to navigate with goaltending for sure. And there's a chance like some of this stuff, and a lot of this will change drastically, possibly, just because goalies have such variance to them.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to give you our tier list and kind of talk about where we kind of view each of these goalies and what tiers we kind of want to put them in. But again, if we look back at this at the end of the year, what we have on this tier list may not truly represent what truly happened throughout the year, because the goalies are so volatile. So don't come back to us at the end of the year and be like, bro, why did you tell me to, why'd you put this guy here when, we're just looking at it from a holistic view right now, and what, given the data we have and kind of who's there essentially, right?
Yeah.
So
some of it's going to be data, some of it's going to be vibes, quote unquote. Some of it's going to be a bit of
vibes. It's going to be our gut feeling, or like limited sample size.
And there are going to be some things where we might like tier things, and then during this I'll also kind of tell you maybe who I'm higher on, who I'm lower on from this tier. Maybe someone I wouldn't take just because I don't like the way it's trending, but you have to give them the respect for the body of work. So a couple things I'm just going to let you look at. These are the main stats we're looking at. Game started, volume matters. If you're like, I'd rather take, if someone's way better than another, like, I think that's the reason Anthony Stolarz isn't the number 1 goalie by stats, right? Because he only played like 34 games. Volume matters. Like when you're playing fantasy hockey, most leagues run around 65 to 75 games in the regular season. Volume matters. If your goalie's starting 60 to 64 games, like 56 to 64 games, like that matters versus a guy that's starting 32, because you have to make up those starts somewhere, right? Obviously, the two major ones, goals. With game started also comes saves. Again, if your goalie's starting more, the odds of him making more saves are just a lot higher. Goals against average and save percentage, I think, are the two every league has. Obviously, that while there is a lot of team impact to that, generally it can be a reflection as well of the goaltending quality. Generally, guys who are good goalies are really good in both these categories. Wins, losses, again, kind of team dependent. And then we also threw in quality starts and shutouts just to kind of paint a full picture of each goalie.
Also, I think with the shutouts too, some leagues, if you're playing in cat leagues too, like you're actually going to have shutouts as one of your categories too, right? Whereas quality starts, that's not really. I don't recall. Yeah, I don't think at least our league doesn't have that. But I think that stat just helps paint the picture of how often does this goalie kind of blow up your goaltending stats essentially. Because if they have a lot more quality starts, they're definitely not blowing up your goalie stats in fantasy as much as somebody else, right? So
exactly. And then other things we look at, track record. So some of the things we'll reference are from a 3-year window, because like WillyDubz and I were talking about, 3-year sample size is kind of a good range generally for goalies. Exceptions are if it's like your first year with the team or some of the younger guys. And then other things we'll take into account, like pedigree. Where was this guy drafted? What was his prospect pedigree? Because generally, I'm more likely to roll with the guy who has a higher prospect pedigree or has done it, maybe proven more in, say, the AHL, for example, versus a guy who maybe was like someone unheard of who just randomly burst onto the scene. Just little things like that also play a role as well. And like other things like coaching as well, like what the team style is, stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll say, I think, again, team situation as well. Like, again, if you're there, I hate to say this, but I might draft a goalie who's kind of more average on a better team than, let's say, like a slightly above average goalie on a worse team, right? It's like, especially if I'm thinking more for the wins, or if I need the wins, essentially. It does depend on what kind of categories you're looking to. If you're playing in a cats league, which ones are you trying to win on, right? Because if you already have a bunch of goalies that have some wins, maybe you just want to pick up a guy that gets more volume, like a ton of saves and that kind of stuff. So really, if your strategy will depend on what you already have and what you plan to have.
Mm-hmm. So, and then kind of when we go through these guys, we'll kind of talk about maybe where you're going to consider taking them off the board in the equivalent of a snake draft, even though I know some people do auction. Just kind of where you'd see them coming off the board. All right, so we're gonna fire up our tier list. We're gonna get rolling here. Just let me know when you're ready, WillyDubz, and we'll get popping.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull the tab up here and I'm going to share. So it should be sharing now if you can see it. Unfortunately, we have so many tiers we can't show them like all on screen at once. So as you can see, it's a little bit harder to. Eventually, you can only see certain parts of it, but
yeah, that's my
that's
bad.
okay.
I will say there's a lot of tiers, but I promise this is relatively thorough, I would say. Okay, so
do you want to start from the bottom first then? Let's start from the bottom and work.
No, I think we start from the top, right?
Okay, so
let's just go to the first one. Let's pull it up. Okay, do people don't even need to guess who this is, right? Tier 1 is one guy. Does anyone need to guess? No? Okay, let's just put him up there. It's Connor Hellebuck. Look, there's no argument. Can somebody else? Can you make a case for anyone else? Like, I'm just curious. Can you?
I honestly no, probably not. I mean, the closest guy I would theoretically debate making a case for would probably be, I would say probably Vasilevsky. Like that's the only other guy I can maybe make some sort of case for. But again, I think given the fact he did miss some time, I think 2 years ago, and then again with how well Hellebuck played last year. So for example, last year, goals against average of 2, .925 save percentage, like numbers we haven't seen. Like those are numbers you typically don't see out of goalies. Right. And I think we saw it that one other year with Shesterkin where he put up the crazy was it the 930 something year and then like the 197? I don't remember what that year was, but that was a crazy year. But the point is, you don't see those kind of crazy years from goalies. And I think Hellebuck is just peak consistency. Again, I think one thing you look for in goalie is just the consistency and how well he can do it. And he's one of the few guys who's done it year in and year out. Because like we said before, goaltending is one of the most volatile positions. And with him, I'm going to say he's not volatile. He's just consistent as heck.
He's one of the few guys, like, so if you look at all the numbers with him, every stat pretty much in the last 3 years, he's been either first, second, or third. Game started, volume, he's number one, right? If you look at wins, he's guess first. What? He's number one. In saves, number 2. In save percentage, which is crazy when you consider the volume he does it on, he's tied for first. Like, I mean, goals against, again, he's one of, I believe, is he first in goal? Yeah, he's first in goals against, right? He's first.
Whoops, I have it sorted by A to Z. Let's go A to Z. Okay, there you go. Yes, he actually is first, in spite of his massive volume.
And quality starts, which
first.
Is a reflection of, while it's not perfect, is a reflection of can be a reflection of how good your goalie is. He's first. So it's like every category, he's basically first or second that matters. He's on a really good team. Like, say what you want about the Jets and, like, maybe they're bleeding talent here and there. They'll probably be a playoff team. So the wins are there. He gets the volume. And he's even one of those guys who will play back-to-backs. He's been durable for most of his, like, career, knock on wood, because I have him as my keeper. But there's nothing. The track record tells you he's the best. There's nothing going forward that tells you he's not the best. He's won the last 2 Vezinas. I mean, you know, and I just don't. And there's not any goalie that's young nipping on his heels. So for me, like, he's just the undisputed number one. I don't like taking a goalie in the first round, but if you don't really think there's a if you're at if you're at the end of the first round and you don't really think there's like, or maybe like if you're the turn pick, if you're like the 12th pick, or if you're the 11th pick, and you just kind of want to shore up goaltending there, I think it's okay to take Hellebuck in the first round, knowing that, you know, while everyone's picking goalies in the middle rounds, you can kind of pick up some depth quality pieces. Because what you can do with Hellebuck that also makes him a great player is you can do what I call the 82 start strategy, and there's very few goalies you can do this with, where you can take Hellebuck, you can take Comrie, you get 82 jet starts. So that's 82 starts on a pretty good team. And you can also, at some point in the mid-rounds, just pick up a starter for volume, or even if you want, take a swing on a guy like a Jet Greaves, a UPL, someone like that, and still feel okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're able to get Hellebuck, and again, he's probably gonna be drafted first round. I don't think he slips beyond that, to be honest with you.
He's late first. Latest he's going is early second.
Yeah, but I think he's going to go. I think for the most part he's going late first. But if you have Hellebuck, you can do what SJ said here. You can basically take him and Comrie, and then you can kind of fill it out. You can go with probably one of the goalies and either made the round table or like wild card, and you're okay because the reality is you probably don't need to invest that much in one of the goalies in like the 2-3 tiers below Hellebuck. So you can take a chance on one of the wild card guys or made the round table, and then and that probably will just work out for you, right? Because you get the volume from Hellebuck. Or you could even, I guess you could even just take Hellebuck and just maybe you can go for 82 games of another goalie tandem. You could even try that because the Hellebuck's just so good by himself that you could just go for maybe pick another like winning team. So let's say, I'm just trying to think.
I'll give an example. Like me personally, the last 2 years, like I have Hellebuck as a keeper, so I have him. I take Comrie with like my last pick in the draft, or even off free agency waivers because no one's picking him. And then last year I took Dostal and Gibson, and then the year before that I took Talbot, and I forget who his backup was at the time, but I took him.
Probably Rittich, right, David? I think it was Rittich.
Yeah, Talbot and Rittich, and it's just and again. That was me just being like, I'm just going to load up on forwards and D and figure the rest out because I have Hellebuck. But you can be more aggressive with it. You can grab, like, we'll talk about this again. You can grab, or you can even grab a guy like at the end of the year because I traded Dostal. I ended up with Vejmelka and Hellebuck. But you can grab a volume guy like Vejmelka, pair him with Hellebuck and Comrie, and just be fine.
Well, I was going to joke with the Vejmelka one. Like, that was pure volume. That was just pure volume. Given the fact that he just
literally... we don't know what category he's going to end up in. But,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what the argument is against Hellebuck. Like, there's just none.
Yeah.
There was an argument at one point where Vasilevsky was the guy, but Hellebuck the last couple of years has just straight up surpassed everybody.
And I think, I as much as I hate to say this, I think Vasilevsky's play, like, while it's been consistent, it's been really good, it has ever so slightly slipped. Because, again, I think his defense in front of him has gotten a little bit worse over time. Because Tampa, again, just haven't had the cap to kind of maintain the same kind of team that they had when they won those first two cups and then made it to the third one. So, again, when your team quality just slips a little bit, it will affect your goalie no matter how good they are, even someone like Vasilevsky. And then I think, speaking of Vasilevsky, I think this kind of...
it's funny because we just said he's worse than Hellebuck, but he's still really good. To me, he's on my tier 1.5, so this is the prince. If Hellebuck's the king, Vasilevsky's kind of the next one there. Even with a down year, his last 3 years have just been really great. Again, you talk about starts, he's within the top 5 in starts. You look at wins.
I think he's number 2. I actually think he's number 2, I think.
He's 2 tied with Sorokin.
Oh, no, I think he's tied
with Sorokin, yeah.
Yeah, 3 tied with Sorokin. I think he's also third in wins, if I'm not mistaken.
Third in wins.
Yeah.
Like, the numbers are pretty good, and that's even including, again, 1 year where he was not very good. And the quality starts have also been pretty good. So, again, he gives you volume. He gives you good numbers. Tampa's still going to be a good team, even though the team is aging and the defense is definitely slipping a bit. But I think, like the year before last year, I think we were wondering if there was going to be a fallback with Vasilevsky, but Vasilevsky turned it on basically from November on and showed you he is what he is. And I think when you combine the track record, the peak that he's reached where he's been the best goalie, like there was a period where he was the best goalie in the league for like 2 seasons in a row, I would say. And you combine how good the team around him is. For me, he's just in a clear second tier by himself. Or like a tier 1.5, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's the guy that... I mean, obviously, his play slipped, I think, that 1 year. And then I think Hellebuck just played so well. But if there's one guy you can maybe make just even a mini argument to compete against Hellebuck, it's probably Vasilevsky. He's probably the only name I can think of that there is at least a slight argument for. And I do think, again, like... He matches Hellebuck in volume. I think Vasilevsky, he's like, I think you mentioned third in games started, so he has the volume. He definitely has the wins. Like, I think he's third for that as well. I think shutouts, he's also tied for third, if I'm not mistaken, in the last 3 years. So Okay, so yeah, tied for third. Yeah, shutouts. I think, and then also quality starts again. Like, how often is he going to blow up your goalie stats? He's third in the last 3 years of quality starts. Also, I think people forget that he actually missed quite some time. I think that 1 year that he wasn't super great. I think he was coming off, was it the back surgery? So you could argue that he would probably be the clear cut, like in most of these categories, he'd be the clear cut number 2 goalie if it wasn't for the injury, right? Missing 2 months and missing
For sure. And
10 or 15
the defense
games.
is less of a concern for me when I look at his goal save above expected, because Hellebuck, like Vasilevsky, I think, you remember how good Hellebuck was when the Jets' defense was bad. Vasilevsky's kind of the same. Like, 2022-23, he was 6th in goal save above expected. Now, again, the year before last year was where that drop-off happened for whatever reason. But then last year, he was 2nd behind Hellebuck. If I go back to 2021-2022, he was 2nd behind Shesterkin. 2020-2021, he was 2nd behind Hellebuck. So he's basically been either the best goalie in the league or the 2nd best goalie in the league for a pretty solid period of time. So for me, yeah, he's just a clear 2nd here. And part of the thing is, I know his peak is number 1 goalie because we've seen it, and the team's really good. It's like the next best thing to Hellebuck, if not Hellebuck. And if you're asking me where I would take him, I wouldn't take him in the first round. But if I'm, again, late 2nd round, on the turn, even if you, again, you just kind of maybe, if you're on the turn and say you got, maybe if you got McDavid or you got a Draisaitl or you got a McKinnon, I have no problem taking him in the 2nd and just knocking those 2 out of the way. Or if you're a guy who kind of wants to load up, maybe you just grab Makar or Hughes in the first round and you want to just grab Vasilevsky just to have those 2 cornerstones and then just load up on offense, you can do that as well. And so, mid to late 2nd, I don't know if I see him slipping to the 3rd, but
there's
mid
no
to
shot.
late 2nd,
I think with the goalies,
early 3rd at the latest.
Yeah, there's. I mean, we already shown it here in our tier list. Like, we have these 2 in like their own separate tiers, right? So I don't think if you want a quality elite goalie, like pretty much like as much of a surefire guarantee as you can get in net, like you're gonna have to invest a high pick in one of these guys, right? So Vasilevsky's not gonna be there by the 3rd round. He'll be there in the 1st or 2nd round. You probably don't want to take him first. I think, like SJ mentioned, so you just have to take him at some point in the 2nd round. I think is probably where he goes.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So moving on, the next section we have is called Overthrow the Throne. These are guys who I think could be the number 1 goalie and can really make a strong run at it. And there's reasons. There's a lot more data just with these guys, I think, versus some of the other tiers. So the interesting thing is where you rank these guys, I think, is what the interesting thing is. So yeah, like I said, this is our tier where if any of these guys finish as a number 1 goalie, I wouldn't be surprised. And it just depends on what your taste and what you're looking for is. So the first one is Igor Shesterkin. Now, Igor Shesterkin's been the best goalie in the league at one point. There was a year where he was by far almost an MVP candidate level good. The problem is, and last year, even though the counting numbers weren't great, his advanced metrics were really good. So last year with Shesterkin, despite his team being horrible, he still finished 7th in goal save above expected. He plays a ton of games. Last year he played 61. If you look at the volume over the last couple years, he's in the top 5 in starts. He's going to play. The only issue I have with him here is, one, I don't know how good the Rangers are going to be because they basically have one good D pairing and that's kind of it. So the defense has question marks. And the other thing too is I just don't know, and the offense, there's not a lot of offensive, two-way. I want to say there's not a lot of two-way players on on offense, but there isn't as well. And Mike Sullivan's system raises some questions as well, because if you look at the Penguins under Mike Sullivan last year, they were basically fun and gun the entire season. And I'm wondering what type of system he brings to Pittsburgh, because if he's going to play that fun and gun, which leaves Shesterkin a bit more exposed, and basically trade high danger chances with the other team left and right, or if it's going to be a different system, I don't know. But the potential is absolutely there because he's so talented that he could end up as the number 1 goalie. And there is a world where the Rangers, with a full season of JT Miller, just end up being really good in the Metro. That is definitely possible.
Yeah, but I think you were mentioning that year where, again, that year he had the 935 save percentage and the 207 goals against average. Like that was definitely peak Shesterkin. Now, I do think that peak, I don't think that's true. Like that's truly representative of the player he is. Like again, that was like the absolute like peak of his powers kind of thing. I do think he's maybe closer to like a 916, kind of like 250.
Well, he's a career 917, yeah.
Yeah, 917, 252 kind of guy, right? So he's probably not that like Hart candidate caliber kind of goalie, but I do think the talent's there, right? And I think even last year, despite how bad the Rangers were and how kind of exposed and left him at times, he still had 34 quality starts, right? And I think that ranked 6th in the league. And again, that was in spite of the team he had in front of him. Now, the question mark I think you mentioned is Rangers don't have a great defense. They have new coaching, and you did see last year that I guess his counting stats, especially his save percentage, which was I think 905, and his goals against average, which was 286, were quite different from his career norms, right? So there was definitely that slippage there, and there again, those are definitely key stats to worry about in fantasy. So again, that's probably his question mark: is what is this Rangers team going to look like this year?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like again, there was a pretty safe floor with him. Like even despite how bad the Rangers is, like the last 3 years, he's been 7th in quality starts. He's been 5th in wins. He's been 4th in wins. If you look at games started, again, you get the volume.
And then second in shutouts. Second in shutout, yeah. Or sorry, not second. Is it second in shutouts? Yeah, second in shutout.
Been 5th in games started. So you get the volume and you get the ceiling of an elite. Again, can be a number one goalie. I think if you're a guy who, I don't want to say swing for the fences because you're not. This isn't like a late pick. If you're kind of a guy who wants to take a guy who might give you a bit more downside, but has the potential to finish. I think of these guys below Hellebuck and Vasilevsky, if you're asking me who's the guy who has the highest potential to finish as number one, it wouldn't surprise me. It's Shesterkin, but I also think he has a lower floor because of the Rangers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think his like the Rangers compared to the Lightning and the Jets. Again, they're definitely the Lightning and Jets are like at least a tier or two, or even maybe 3 above the Rangers, to be honest. So,
and there's a lot that can go. There's a lot more that can go wrong with the Rangers. Again, when you talk about the lack of defensive depth, even the lack of offensive depth. Like if there's an injury that happens, like if Fox gets hurt, it's like their season might be over. For example.
I'd even argue for their offense too. Like if they lose a guy on like the forward core, like let's say like Panarin or like I guess JT Miller gets hurt, like suddenly that offensive depth hurts. And I hate to say this, but like if their offense suffers, then Shesterkin's win total will probably suffer to a certain degree, right? Because there are those days where if Shesterkin's on his best, his team's probably not going to get the win because they just won't have the offense, right? Whereas if their offense is healthy, like maybe even on his off night, you might still get a win out of him just because the Rangers have that much talent offensively, right? So.
But the peak is there because if you're talking about the NHL goalies with the highest, so the past 3 seasons, the highest cumulative goal save above expected, Shesterkin's 3rd. So, right there, right? All right, moving on to the next one. Jake Ottinger, my guy, the Otter. This one's interesting. So you mentioned, you had an interesting observation about Ottinger that when we were discussing this earlier. Can you kind of bring that up and just kind of shed some light on it there?
So it's funny because I think when I was looking at Ottinger's stats compared to Vasilevsky's stats the last 3 years, like again, I know Vasilevsky missed some time due to that back injury, and he also had like that bad year as well. But if you look at this 3-year run, like the stats are, I don't want to say they're almost identical, but they pretty much are, right? So Vasilevsky's played 175 games, Ottinger's played 172. I know again, I mentioned the back injury, so that there is an impact there. But, I mean, if you take away the injuries, again, Ottinger's actually had more wins. He's had 108 versus Vasilevsky's 102. Their save percentage is basically identical. I think Vasilevsky's 913, Ottinger's 912. Goals against average, virtually the same again, 256 for Vasilevsky, 255 for Ottinger. I think Vasilevsky has 2 more shutouts. He has 12, and then Ottinger has 10. But then again, the quality starts. Like, they both have 103. Yeah, so it's funny because, again, I will preface this again by saying, maybe a healthy Vasilevsky, like, and again, in that season, and, if he plays even at least a little bit better than average, I think that one year he was actually a below average goalie in the league that year he was hurt. But if you count that year in, like, these 2 guys are a lot closer than you think. And I think that kind of speaks to Ottinger as a goalie because he has so much talent, But sometimes when you watch him, like I guess when you see him in fantasy and you see him in real life, you're kind of, I don't want to say you're wishing for more, but you think that there's more to come. But then he never really, like you saw the peak in the Calgary, like the playoff series against Calgary, right? So I think that's kind of the best
Ottinger's
example.
an
You know the
interesting
peak.
one because, like, to me, of this tier, he's... So again, we saw the peak of Ottinger, and like you mentioned, what he looked like, where he kind of looked like he was doing his best Tim Thomas impersonation that first round loss. And you watch him, and you're like, that's... But it's weird. We haven't seen that in the regular season. And you're kind of almost underwhelmed in a way. But then you look at the numbers you mentioned. It's very close to Vasilevsky. Again, I'm going to mention that stat about data-driven hockey had NHL goalies with the highest cumulative goal save above expected the past 3 seasons. He's 7, right? Like, and you look at everything, he's a good goalie. You can say at worst he's like top 6-ish in the league. He's on a great team with with quality defenders like Harley, Heiskanen, Essa the Suppressa, and obviously I'm showing my little bias here. And a team with really good defense.
I'd argue out of all the goalies we mentioned so far, like he's probably on the best. He is on the best team out of, like, if you compare between Jets, like, I mean, like, he has the best team in front of him. Like, I think I'd even joke in this tier, like we have him in Overthrow the Throne tier. That's the name of our tier. I think out of all the guys in that tier, he actually has the best team, right? So I could even see an argument where I do see an argument where you put him over Shesterkin just because there's more. I don't want to say there's more certainty with him, but like his floor is higher, but his ceiling is slightly lower than Shesterkin's. But then it really depends on what you want, right? If you want the safe floor, if you just want something like that's almost surefire, like you could just go Ottinger and like you could forego Shesterkin. The thing you are foregoing is that you know that Ottinger's ceiling is probably not as high as Shesterkin's, but at least you know that the team situation is better. So maybe you just get more wins out of it, even if Ottinger isn't, crazily good like he was in that, for example, that Calgary series, right?
And I think the thing with Ottinger too is because he started as a starting goalie so young, if you remember, he was kind of forced to by necessity because Hudobin got hurt. And we've seen so much of him already at a young age. Like, we talked about this. Like, Dustin Wolf is basically finished his rookie year last year, really good rookie year. But he's only 2 years younger than Jake Ottinger. We've seen Jake Ottinger for almost 4 seasons now, it feels like? 4 or 5?
Yeah.
And
3, 4 minimum, yeah. 3, 4 minimum, probably 4 or 5, realistically.
And it's one of those things where, again, like, there could be another gear. I'm not sure, just because, again, if you look at the age, like, if he's someone that came up maybe a bit later, maybe we'd be talking about upside. I'm not sure. Like, sometimes I think of Ottinger as, like, I don't know if you ever had this, but that attractive friend, like that attractive girl that she's your friend, but it's like because you hang out with her every day, maybe you don't notice it as much as like somebody who's seeing her for the first time kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that's like in a way. But
I was also going to say too, he's 26 right now, right? And I think I was going to actually argue that Shesterkin took his big leap when he was around 26. Like I could see this being the year that maybe, like, again, this is more of a hope than maybe it'll be a reality, but he might take a leap. You never know. I mean, if there's a year to take a leap, it's probably this, like in his middle of his prime, right? So that's why I propose the argument you could take him over Shesterkin is that, again, the safe floor, maybe he does take that leap.
But overall, I think of these options, he's to me, he's like, he gives you a way higher floor than Shesterkin, but a slightly lower ceiling, because we haven't seen him become that number one goalie the way Shesterkin did that one year where he just dominated, right? But yeah, if you're looking at, I get the volume, I get pretty good counting stats, I get pretty good, goals. If I look at goal save perspective, pretty good there, and I get a great team with a commitment to defense, both with their defensemen and with the defensive forwards. Again, you look at guys like Rope Hintz, for example, right? Like it's and they just re-signed Faxa, who's another defensive forward, just as an example. Like, there's real commitment to defense on the team. I'm fine with him having him here. And again, the argument for him versus Shesterkin is just what do you want? Do you just want the dependable plug-in guy, or do you kind of want the guy where the floor might be lower, but there's a chance the value return is higher?
Again, I think it depends on what you are looking for, right? So if you need to take a bit more of a swing, you can take Shesterkin. If you just want something a little safer, you could probably go Ottinger. I think that's really the way I see it at this point.
And Yeah, exactly. And then the last one we have on this tier, this is, I feel like, I don't know how much you even agree with me on this one, but I have him here, Samuel Montembeau. So this is this is a real swing, but I think if you pick him, like, the return is really, for me, the return and the ups, like, I think if you're getting him now, there's a potential that he becomes the number one goalie because of A, what he's shown, and B, I think you can get him lower than these other guys, and the value return could be higher. Because if you look at Samuel Montembeau, so here's the argument for him. Now, he doesn't have the full 3-season track record, but 2023, 2024, right? And you remember how bad that Habs team was. He finished with a 3.3 goal save above expected in 41 games, and they were terrible that year. Last year, 2024, 2025, he played 62 games, fifth in goal save above expected. The last 3 years, he's fifth in goal save above expected. And if I look at all the numbers from Samuel Montembeau's year last year, like, they're all really good for the most part when you look at the team around him and just the lack of defense, basically. And I just think of, and again, this is a bit of a projection, but when the Habs come up, so like last year, for example, I know, again, it's a bit of a projection because you look at the 901 save percentage and the 282.
And the 282 goals against average. Yeah, there are some question marks when you look at those numbers there, but I think you do have to look at the team, like the Habs as a whole, right? Because I think, again, the advanced numbers again say that he was one of the top 5 goalies in the league. Like, he was keeping pucks out at a much higher rate than other goalies, right? And I think the Habs as a team, like, their defense, I do argue that their defense has gotten better because they made the addition with Dobson, and now they also have, again, they have the puck moving defenseman on each of their first 3 pairings, and then they also, I think their first 4 D-men are pretty good between, like, having Matheson, Dobson, Hudson, and then like Caden Goalie, right? So I think their defense is set, so he'll have at least a better defensive infrastructure in front of him. I think the question mark with the Habs is probably their offense. Again, and the first line is no question marks there, but the second line, they don't really have that center, so you might have a little bit of trouble squeaking out wins at times with him. But I think, with the team in front of him, we do project him to take quite a leap, and I think the advanced numbers do show that he should take some sort of leap, theoretically.
Like, again, and I mentioned this, I do like the rest of the other numbers, though, because, again, when I talk about volume, he was 3rd in the league in games played. When I look at wins, the wins are a bit lower, but he was still 6th. And remember, the Habs were like a fringe playoff team. If I look at saves, he was 6th. If I look at, like, the quality starts, despite how bad the Habs were, he was still 10th. And, again, this is a guy who finished... There's a reason he finished 8th in Vezina because people realized, like, the difficulty of what he had to do. Again, he was 5th in goal save above expected on a team where the guys ahead of him the teams were way better defensively, right? And now you're talking about a team that added Dobson. This is a team with Hudson going into his second year. This is a team that has 3 puck-moving defensemen on all lines. It's a team that's going to be better. And if the Habs make the improvement that everyone thinks they're going to make, and Montembeau, again, those advanced analytic numbers carry over, Montembeau is going to be really good.
Well, also, just talking about the goal save above expected, too, like, the 4 guys that are ahead of him, right? 2 of them are, like, way above him in the tier list, like, it's Hellebuck and Vasilevsky, and the other 2 were guys that did it on much lower, did it on much lower volume, right? Like Thompson and Stolarz, right? So, again, I think just Montembeau being able to do that on, like, higher volume and, like, again, on a much worse team, because the first 4 guys, the teams they all play for, the Jets were, I believe they were, was they first in their conference, I think? Do I have that right, or am I off on that part? Or
the Jets were first in the conference, yeah.
First in the conference. The Lightning were essentially, I think, second in their division and one of the tougher divisions in the league. The Capitals, I think, again, first in their conference as well. I think they won the President's Trophy, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on that. And then Stolarz was with the Leafs, and the Leafs were first in their division and then basically a second-round playoff team, right? And then you look at Montembeau, whose team barely squeaked in the playoffs, and I mean, I think it's night and day if you look at team situations between the 4 guys ahead of him and then him, right? So
yeah, he's the one that's a lot more of a projection, but because when you look at, again, when you're on draft day and you maybe don't look at the numbers, you see 282, 901, you'll be like, well, why am I taking this guy? But I really do think having him here is the right decision because, again, I think he's a guy that no one's really looking at. And maybe you can get, because again, they'll be warded off by those initial numbers, and you can kind of get him in the 4th, 5th, maybe even 6th round, depending on your league. And there's a real chance if Montreal's as good as people think they are and the defense improves, he can finish as the number 1 goalie.
Yeah, and I think we already talked about it. His advanced numbers show that he is a really, really good goalie. It's just, again, the team in front of him hasn't really, I don't want to say hasn't really helped him, but they definitely haven't done much to help his situation, right? So if this team does take a leap then, and assuming his numbers hold, it should only be up from there, right? So
yeah. All right. Tier 2.5. So this is next in line to be. This is in line to be king. This is the tier. Now, this is a tier below tier 2 where I just have more questions with these guys than I did with the guys in tier 2, and they're for varying reasons. So some of it can be team, some of it can be health, some of it's just track record. And yeah, these are kind of the questions I have. The first one in this tier for me is Ilya Sorokin. Ilya Sorokin's a weird case if you look at him, because if you look at him through if you look at him through a lot of numbers, so if you look at goalies with the highest cumulative goal save above expected the last 3 seasons, he's actually second behind Hellebuck. It's not Chester.
Well, first thing I was gonna say, first off, for those who are staring at the screen, am I just dumb, or is did I not have him as one of his pictures?
Oh okay.
did I fuck that up somehow, or did I
possibly? Yeah, possibly.
That's Blomqvist. That's the cord. Wait, hold on. Let me see if I just. Okay. That's
can you go
crazy.
Retrieve him while I discuss him? Or
Yes, I'll retrieve him. Yeah, I don't know why I don't have his picture, but I thought I had him. That's weird.
All right, so here's the argument. So here's the argument for Sorokin. Again, the last 3 years in terms of cumulative goal save above expected, he's second. Again, only behind Hellebuck. If you look at the last couple of years, he's fourth in, tied for third in starts, I should say. If you look at saves, he's third behind, again, just Saros and Hellebuck. If you look at his quality start numbers, again, given the team he's on, it's also again, he's second behind Hellebuck, right? This guy is really good. Now, the only issues that come is if you look at his non-advanced numbers, and even his advanced numbers to an extent, last year in goal save above expected, he was 10th. The year before that, in goal save above expected, he was actually, if you look at the numbers, he was actually below Varlamov the year before that in 2023-2024. He was 35th. If you look at, and then 2022, he was third. So the problem is after that peak in 2022-2023, where I thought he was arguably the best goalie in the league, 2023-2024 and 2024-2025 just haven't been the same, and they kind of reflect in his actual numbers as well. Because if you look at his seasons in the league, it's kind of a startling trend where, so his first year in the league, 918, 217. Second year, 925, 240. 2022, 2023, 924, 234 led the league in shutouts. But then 2 years ago, 908, 301. Last year, 907, 271. So numbers are trending in a kind of a downward manner, which isn't great. But again, and the other issue too that comes up is the Isles are going through a rebuild. So right now, if you look at the main numbers you're looking at, the wins probably aren't going to be there with him, which is going to be an issue. And there are games where they're just going to get out talented, and that's going to be a real problem, I think, if you're looking at it. But again, the track record is such where you've seen him be potentially near the best, potentially a top 2 goalie in the league. You've seen that. The Isles, for their talent flaws, do still have a lot of quality defensive players. They do have Pelich, they do have Pulak, Mayfield's okay. There are a couple decent defensive forwards on the team. It's just I don't know how much upside he has with the team being as bad as it is, and there is that trend of him kind of going downward after 3 years ago. So
yeah, well, I was also going to say too, I think out of all if we look at all the teams that that we see here on this tier list, and some of the guys we're going to talk about later that are also in this tier, he might have the worst or like the second worst team situation to be in.
No, it's the worst.
Right?
I don't know who's. I
It's the
don't know.
worst. Well, I think we don't. I was going to say, well, we have another guy in this tier. Maybe we'll discuss his situation, but like I think his team's also not. There's another guy whose situation isn't that much better either. So I don't know. Like again, it could be. I think it's worse or second worst, but essentially not much offense to bail him out if he even has a bad night. So you might not get the wins out of that. And again, like the save percentage and the goals against average have been trending down significantly. So again, that's going to hurt your counting stats if you're in a category league as well. And I think even with the like the advanced numbers to an extent too, like yes, he was still 10th in goal save above expected last year with 17.5. But again, this is a stark contrast from I think those other years you mentioned.
Yeah,
where
3 years ago, like
I think
he was third. Yeah,
he was third, and then like.
No, I think what's also you have to factor in with a team like the Isles, and we'll talk about another guy in this tier that you're mentioning, is they're rebuilding. So there's a chance guys could be shipped out. Now, I don't know if that means Sorokin as well, but there's a chance like any movable parts on this team, any expiring contracts, like you saw the Isles get rid of Brock Nelson at the deadline this year. And if there's any expiring contracts they can get rid of for more draft capital, they will do it. So you also have to factor a weird factor you have to factor in with guys on rebuilding teams is like further degradation of the active.
Yeah, how much worse can their team get throughout the year, essentially?
So like, I have Sorokin kind of he's here, but I think there's other guys I would like. He's the guy I'm fading the most in this tier, even though I know he's so talented. He's the guy I'm probably fading the most. If you want a guy you know who's going to give you volume. And you just want a guy where you've seen the ceiling, I think you're okay if you want to take him here. Like again, maybe 5th, 6th round. I think that's fine. I'm just not. I think there's guys in this tier with way more upside. I'd be more interested in taking.
Well, my other thing too is I'm like again as talented as Sorokin is, I'm okay with taking a guy that's a little bit less talented if they're on a much better team, and that's kind of something that again that's what I did last year when I had. I think I took a chance on the Washington goalies. There was quite a risk there because again we didn't know how good Washington would be, but I think for me it worked out because Thompson turned out to be one of the best goalies or one of the better goalies in the league, and Washington turned out to be one of the best teams in the league, right? So it does work out to an extent, but I think if you're a tip for drafting goalies,
a lot of times if a goalie is decent, you can't go wrong just picking situation.
Yeah, so you can just pick the. Yeah, I was just gonna say like you pick if there's two goalies you're looking at, look at the two teams that they play for. If there's not much of a difference between either of them, then yeah, sure you can kind of pick and choose. But if one team is like significantly better, target the goalie on the team that's significantly better. Because even if that goalie sucks, at least you're gonna get wins out of it.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next one here. I have Mackenzie Blackwood. I'd honestly have him higher than Sorokin. I'm just really high on Blackwood. Now, don't tell me you forgot Blackwood's avatar too.
It's funny because I think okay, maybe I have the wrong picture. Okay, I think I might have pulled. Okay, yeah, I'll pull his picture up. But yeah, I'll pull it up one sec.
Did you pull up Askarov stash by accident? Okay.
No, I think I forgot. I think when I did the picture pull up, I might have forgotten this. I low key think I forgot this entire tier, which is kind of funny. But I think when I was doing it, yeah, it's fine. Okay, I'll pull it up. Go ahead though.
Okay, so this one's a bit of a projection here, but the way I look at it, I'm okay with making this projection. Blackwood, again, basically league average goal save above expected while he was on the Sharks last year, which is insane when you consider who the Sharks were throwing out there on defense. Once he got to Colorado, he instantly became one of the best goalies in the league. We're talking about a guy last year, despite if you include the time with San Jose, was 19th in goal save above expected. If I look at games played, he was 12th. Wins, which Colorado will get a lot of. Wins, he was 12th. I mean, again, and if you look at the numbers post-Colorado, he was really good. Like, he ended up with a 9-12, 255, but I think with a full... Again, it's a bit of a projection. A full season with Colorado, you know the talent potential. You know the wins. I think for me... Honestly, I'm okay having him above Sorokin. And I think there's a chance that, like, if he plays as good as he did while he was with Colorado, and Colorado's going to win the games and he's going to be the number one goalie, which he is because there's no contest behind him and they signed him to an extension. There's no argument for me. Like the argument there, I don't say no argument, but there's not much you can do to convince me that I'd rather take the upside of him over Sorokin.
Well, I was gonna say too, like I'd honestly just target Blackwood just because of the team situation alone is enough for me to swing that, right? Just because, again, I think the most important thing is that it's really hard if you're in a category like it's really hard to get goalie wins. Like I find that it's always easier to draft guys for volume and that can get you a lot of saves and like I guess a lot of counting stats, but targeting the win, like it's really hard to get the win specifically. So again, I would always just say, look, if you see a guy that will get you more wins, just take a swing on the guy with like more wins. Like just take the guy that will get you more wins over the guy with maybe like more talent, but like will get you less wins.
And sometimes I think, and I don't even think there's that much of a trade-off because these are Blackwood's numbers. So just to give you an idea, these are Sorokin's numbers last year. 907, 271 with the Isles and the 61 starts. Blackwood in 37 games with the Avs was 913, 233, right? So if I'm looking at it, if he's going to be the starting goalie and I'm getting 50, 55 starts, like probably close to, I'd say 58, and it's with that team, I just think, like, honestly, I'd move him above Sorokin. I'd rather just chase the upside of Blackwood than like potential and the Avs as a team versus Sorokin.
No, that's for sure. No, I'm with you on that one for sure. Again, like I said, target wins first. Wins first is my drafting strategy at least. I don't know what's I'm assuming yours is probably similar, but again,
I'm a little bit more with my gut sometimes, but it's a combination of things. But I think I'm always chasing the upside more so because at the end of the day, like I feel like Sorokin again is capped because of how bad the Isles is, but Blackwood being on the Avs gives him a much higher ceiling because of how good that team is. And we've seen bad goalies or average goalies on good teams be really good fantasy assets more than we've seen great goalies on bad teams be good fantasy assets. Like there was that year with the Avs, Philip Grubauer was there was a year with the Avs, Grubauer was a really good fantasy asset, right? We've seen years where, like, I remember again back in the day, like Dallas with Marty Turco some years, like where the advanced numbers in hindsight weren't so great, but Dallas was so good. Like there's years and teams where that happens, and I'd rather chase that. So yeah, honestly, if you could, I'd move Blackwood above Sorokin here.
Yep, I'll move him. Apologies for all the viewers. I was for people who were wondering for part of the screen share why I was all the way down at the bottom. I had to add in those last couple of pictures because apparently I forgot an entire tier, guys. So everybody in the comments can give me a bunch of shit. Apparently I forgot a bunch of goalies. So if you want to give me shit in the comments, feel free to.
All right, next one here, Dustin Wolf, the Wolfman, a big wolf on campus. I don't know what else you want to call him, Wolfbane.
Yes, I have his picture.
This guy's
so I just had to move him.
So good.
So this is the other guy I was going to argue. This is the other guy I was going to argue that like between him and Sorokin, like neither team situation's great. Like
the only thing
it's close.
Like,
it is pretty close.
Calgary's issue is they just can't score. Like they're not a horrible defensive team. Like Calgary's issue is they can't find the net if their life depended on it.
Well, the Islanders are. I'd argue the Islanders aren't like they're not a horrible defensive team either. Again, they're probably worse. Are they worse defensively? Probably, but I'd argue they're not horrible. Not horrible either, right? At least that's my understanding.
Let me double check quickly, but yeah, make your case on Wolf there while I do that.
I mean, it's funny because Wolf is I think when we talk about pedigree guys, like Wolf is like the definition of a pedigree guy, right? Like he came through the minors, so like he won everything.
If we just just 1 sec. If we use 5-on-5 expected goals against, Calgary was 20th, the Isles were 25th. And if I look at high danger chances against, Calgary was 14th. Were the Isles actually ahead of them on that? No, hold on. The Islanders were 18th. So Calgary's defense looks to be slightly better.
Yeah, okay, so slightly better. Again, I think that's why I said like again, there's between Sorokin, like Sorokin's either on the first or the worst or the second worst team
Yeah.
situation, right? Like I think there's you can make arguments for either or, but like it's either worst or second worst. But I think the case for Wolf, like in the 53 games he did play, like he was only 22nd in a goal save above expected, but he was on a team that just could not score. And I don't know if you remember watching some of those games, but I remember some of those games where his team basically had like I think there was a game against Florida where they had like 9 shots on goal through 2 periods, and I think they were only losing like 1-0 or 2-0 at one point.
Yeah.
I don't remember if he was playing that game.
Their team is so offensively inept, and it's not just creating volume; it's everything. Like if you look at Calgary's offense, it's not pretty.
Yeah,
But despite that, Wolf was really good, and I think with Wolf, what you're chasing the upside, right? You're chasing that was his rookie year, and he could be a lot better. And also, he has track record, right? He was the AHL goalie of the year, I believe. He was
that, again. He was good in the. I think he was good in. He was good in like I guess junior hockey, not junior hockey, but he was good before he got to the AHL. Then he was also good in the AHL. Now he's like I hate to say it, but he was good in the NHL too. He's got the track record pretty much everywhere, right? And that's something you don't see a lot.
And for your first year to play starter volume at that level is like, and his first year was basically at 23 years old, and he played 53 games. Like, so you can potentially project the workload to increase as well. Maybe not substantially, but a bit. And you're talking about a guy who, again, in spurts, like 9-10 save percentage on Calgary, like, and for a rookie to take on that workload is really good. And you're chasing the upside with him. It's just, I think him and Sorokin kind of are similar in that you do run into issues with the team. One, again, offensively inept on both ends, so not a lot of wins. The other issue is, again, teams that are rebuilding. If you hear rumors about Calgary trying to trade Kadri, there's a real argument if they like that they could move guys. Rasmus Anderson already sounds like he's not going to resign. Maybe there's a trade with him to Vegas, for example, where he said he would resign for some reason. Anyone that can be moved, they'll move, and I think that hampers his upside because you're not going to get the wins, and you are just going to get the games where they're just not creating offense, and he is getting bombarded. But I think he showed you enough that despite that, you can get really quality numbers from him. And again, he's kind of like Sorokin to me, where they're both kind of in the same boat. But I'd have Sorokin higher because the track record and the peak was so much higher. But I like Wolf. I think Wolf's up. I think Wolf's really
it's funny because they're both on teams where again there's guys that could be moved that'll make their team worse, right? I think back to the argument of the pedigree part, right? Like he proved it in the WHL, right? I think the one year, like one of the years he had 41 wins, a 936 save percentage, and then a 169 goals against average. Like that's crazy. And then the year after that in the WHL again, he followed it up with a 935, 188. With 34 wins, I think in only 46 games played. Or
he just makes you believe it more because he's done it at every level. Like
and then in the AHL too. I think his first full year in the AHL, he had 924, 235, 33 wins, and then the year after that, 932, 209, 42 wins. Again, he's done it pretty much at every level. Like even last year, like 29 wins in 53 games. Like he won more of his starts than he lost. 9-10 save percentage, which is I think solid given how bad goalies have been as of late. 264 goals against average on a team that sure they had their defense was was solid, but like it wasn't like best defense in the league kind of thing. And also it was a team that didn't give him a ton of scoring, right? So for him to get those 29 wins, I think was impressive in itself. So like I hate to say it, but he's done it at pretty much every level. Like I think again, if that's his rookie season, like unless he does some kind of Jim Carrey like crazy fall off, like I think the sky's the limit for this guy.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like he did 53 starts last year. Let's say conservatively, maybe we give him an extra 5, right? 58 games. 58 games played puts you basically tied for 6th with Jake Ottinger. That's not inconceivable to me. And then it's like, if you're also getting those counting stats, like last year, despite how bad Calgary was, he still had a higher save percentage than the following goalies: Jake Ottinger, Igor Shesterkin, Ilya Sorokin, Sam Montembeault, Jeremy Swayman, Yusei Saros, Joey Decora. So despite how bad his team was, he was still flourishing. So yeah, like to me, he's again. I like for all the guys under 6 feet, like this guy, 5'10" and a half here. I already love Dustin Wolf, and what he's been doing, just like especially at such a young age, just makes me really appreciate him. And I think he's a guy, like I said, if you just want to chase the upside on the goalie end, but again, know that the wins might be lower. I'm okay with it.
Do you have him above Sorokin here? Like, is there an argument to put him above Sorokin?
I can't because of the track record. The situation isn't different enough for me, but if I kind of want the safety. Like, I think if you're choosing between the two, I'd probably want the safety of Sorokin a little bit more. But they're both like...
The only reason I argue against the safety is I think, again, it's been 2 mediocre years of Sorokin, right? So it's been like, I guess, like it's not like he's coming off just 1 mediocre year, right? Like, I think the argument there is, again, like I don't know if there's a trend with Sorokin like trending downwards, but it's at least starting to show, right? Again, I think this year will be the true indicator as to whether or not...
I think the other argument for Sorokin is probably the volume. He will play more. And that's the other thing I think that matters too.
Well, that's going to be interesting. I think Calgary's backup is... I don't think that their backup even played a game in the NHL last year. So, again, there is a chance that maybe Calgary just has to like play Wolf a bunch of times because, again, do you really want to throw a guy like Devin Cooley in net?
I think this is similar to the Ottinger Shesterkin argument. If you want the floor, I think you take Sorokin. But if you want the ceiling between the two,
you take Wolf.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Next one here, Logan Thompson. Logan Thompson was... You can speak to this one. You had him last year, so...
So he was like... I had Logan Thompson for majority of the year last year, I think, until I traded him in like closer towards the end of the year. But, so the one knock against Logan Thompson is that he's not going to start as many games as some of the other guys like currently on this list, right? Like you're going to have to pick him and then Charlie Lindgren up together. But again, when Thompson played... He was really, really good. Like, again, he was 3rd in goals saved above expected with 26 goals saved above expected. His save percentage, I believe, was... Sorry, it's a little bit harder to pull him up because his volume is a little bit... I can pull
this up for you here. So, Logan Thompson...
910 save percentage and the 249 goals against average. Yeah. So, he's going to give you good stats in majority of the goalie categories. The issue, I think, the biggest knock against him is... the game started. Like, he's not going to start the same volume as some of the other guys on this list. Because 43 is barely half the... Is barely above a little over half the year. Yeah. So...
Like, just to give you an idea, like, Sorokin started 61, right? Wolf, we mentioned, started... Even Dustin Wolf, who was a rookie, started 53. And when you're talking about, going deeper into a season, you kind of want... Like, with Sorokin starting 60, you might not have to grab a pairing goalie, whereas I feel like Thompson kind of leaves you in that. But the quality is so good that you have to have him here. And also the other thing too is the team is very good. They have a good coach, they have quality defenders, and they have a really good infrastructure and a good system. So you have to have him here on that. But yeah, the issue...
I was going to joke. Didn't they just win the President's Trophy? Like,
yeah, exactly, right? So
like,
in the games he
plays...
plays...
situation right now.
Yeah, if in the games he plays, you are getting wins. But his best case scenario is like a Ben Bishop. I know it's a throwback. Ben Bishop, those years he finished 2nd in Vezina voting, where maybe he only plays 45-ish games, but the numbers are just so staggeringly good is the ceiling. So that's the only reason I'd have him here. He's kind of a more finer taste. Like, you have to have a specific strategy when you take him, where you have to kind of chase the volume in the middle tiers. But I have no problem taking him because when he does start, the quality is really good.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I had him, and like I traded him because I couldn't. Again, my situation is I had to decide between keeping Shesterkin or Thompson, and I chose the guy with... I think I went for the more talented guy, theoretically. But I think Thompson, again, when he plays, he's quality. The problem is he doesn't play enough. So yeah. I think he started 42 games. So again, like, you're gonna have to pair him with Lindgren. So that's kind of the issue there. But again, the quality is just like it is.
And also,
there,
he has had times where he's been hurt. He's maybe not as durable as well. Is another thing.
And I think also there was a stretch, I think, in March and April
where he was horrible.
He was just horrible. Yeah. So there are stretches where he is inconsistent. So you do have to watch out for that. But again, I think apart from that March and April, like he was good the rest of the year. So
yeah. All right, the last one in this tier. Although I do want to make I do want to ask you about one other guy we might put in this tier, but the last one in this tier, Thatcher Demko. We know the downside because of the injury. The downside with him is the injuries, but the upside when he's healthy is he is one of the best high danger goalies in the league.
Yeah, so last year, for example, he only played 23 games. So, like, again, that's what you allude to between the injuries. But the year before that, so the year before last year, he was second in goals saved above expected with 22. And he did play 50. I think he did play 51 games that year. So he will start a decent chunk of games. Now, is it the same as like a Hellebuck or Vasilevsky? No, but he'll give you roughly a bit more starts than some of the platoon guys, for example. So you don't have to worry about, drafting his backup, I think, is Lankinen. So you don't have to worry. You don't necessarily have to get Lankinen. It's more of a nice to have. But again, yeah, Demko is one of the best goalies against like high danger chances. And when he is fully healthy, I'd argue he is a top 5 goalie in the league. The problem is the injuries have just kind of hampered him to the point where, last year he wasn't great. And I think his hip, I don't know if is it his hip injury or is it his hip or knee? I don't know if it's a degenerative condition, but it seems like that's not getting.
And if you've
that's
seen
always
it with guys like with guys like Kawhi in basketball, it creates kind of long-term issues, and those issues don't get better as you age, which is another problem. The other thing too, I would say is, while I'm a little bit higher on Vancouver this year versus last year, there is a little bit of uncertainty with them. But I think overall, if you're looking at a goalie who can kind of potentially maybe not be the number one goalie just because he won't play as many games, but challenge for it, I think this guy might be your last one who can challenge for number one goalie. And while still, again, the difference between him and Thompson is like probably playing around 50-55 games when healthy. I think he's just the one there. And if you watch him play, again, one of the best high danger goalies in the league, and a team that's gonna be in playoff contention. Whether they make the playoffs, I'm not sure, but they've doubled down on the roster they have. This isn't a team that's going to sell off anybody. There are quality players on this team. It's a decent offense. Defense has some good pieces. I think if he's healthy, he can return a lot of value, but you're taking a swing on the health, and that's always a scary thing.
He's also the goalie in this tier with the most volatility, I think, right? Because you can either get peak Demko or you can just get the last year version of Demko where he was just, I don't want to say he was terrible.
Where if you didn't pick up Lankinen, it was a rough year.
It was it was essentially GG for you, yeah.
Yeah. The other argument I want to make for a guy here, what's your take on Ullmark?
Ullmark's interesting because if you actually look at some of the stats within the last 3 years, he's actually tied for first in save percentage with Hellebuck, funny enough. He has a .922 save percentage. And I think he's also got the second, or sorry, one.
So the last 3 years, he's fourth in cumulative goal save above expected. He's fourth. Even last year, if you look at his goal save above expected with Ottawa, like he was 18th, but Ottawa's made some real improvements with the team. I did like the Jordan Spence addition. I think I was kind of scared off him because Travis Green with the Canucks ran a very fun and gun style, but this team's a lot more defensive. I'm just wondering, because I wasn't originally planning to have Ullmark here, but I feel like
I'm fine with it. Okay, so I think I'm fine with moving Ullmark up. I'd actually have him above Demko just because I think there's more certainty with him than Demko at this point. Again, I think Demko is more Demko is definitely the more talented goalie by far, and the only argument I throw against Ullmark is that, again, the stats I did mention were kind of carried by those 2 years in Boston to an extent. Because if you look at Ullmark's stats last year, right? Like Ullmark's stats as a whole last year, it doesn't necessarily kind of like blow you away, right? Like he played, I think 43 games because he was hurt for a bit. 909, 272. Like it's solid, but not spectacular, right? But I think if you like you mentioned, getting Spence, they re-signed a lot of their guys. I think they pretty much brought back everybody that they needed to bring back. Like this team is only gonna get better, right? So, and I think Ullmark again is gonna have assuming he's healthy, he'll play a bit more games. I assume his numbers don't fall off, and to me, he has a bit more certainty than Demko, which is why I'm fine with putting him in line to be king. Because the other thing is too, he's not aging, he's not an aging lord. He's not made the round table.
And he's like, and he has as much of an outlier year as it felt. He did win the like he was the number one goalie at one point, like for a year.
Whoops, sorry.
As short as that year was, it still happened, right? Okay, of the guys we have in this tier, who are you fading the most, and who would you want to get shares in?
So the guy I'm fading the most for sure is probably Sorokin. Like,
okay,
it's worse because like it's between Sorokin or kind of like Wolf, but like maybe it's just me, but I'd rather just take a chance on Wolf, even if his team's gonna like, maybe have more guys to trade off. But like again, I believe in the talent because I've seen it. I've watched him in the WHL. I watched him in the AHL. Like I don't say I've watched some of his games in the NHL. Like I believe in this guy. Like this, I will admit, this is like a pure gut, kind of more of a gut feeling for me. Is like I just go like I'm like
so.
It's like,
for me, I'd say of this tier, I'm fading Demko, not because of ability, but in this tier, I'm still taking a guy who's my number one goalie. I don't want that level of injury risk affiliated with it, and I know if I take him, I also have to probably pick up Lankinen. Whereas with these other guys, I don't have that worry. Although Thompson, I guess you can pick up Lindgren, but you don't have to. So I'd say just because I want a safer floor. So I kind of agree with you on the take of if you're not worried about the floor, then yeah, your take is right. I think if I am worried about floor though,
yeah, if you're worried about the floor, I think Demko's fine to fade. I think for me, it's just I do think Vancouver should be like they should be better. Like I don't think this team like I know I hope they don't get any worse, but
I know anybody can get hurt, but I just don't want that level of injury risk with a number one goalie. I just don't.
And I think the easy one is I'm just gonna chuck my chips into Blackwood. Like that's just the easy.
I think
when you have one of the best offenses in front of you, like even if your day isn't going super great, like yeah, you can win 7-6 and still get the win.
I think that's my argument. He's better than that.
Yeah, like he's not going to be the guy he's not going to be like Georgiev who like almost single-handedly kind of sunk that team, right? Like you saw once Colorado got Blackwood, their team situation kind of solidified, right? Like
gee, I wonder why we started winning. Looks around. Gee,
looks at Georgiev on another team.
Like it's bad when Georgiev hasn't even been signed again. Like that's how bad it was. And yeah, Blackwood. Like for me, I think my head the guy I'd go all in on of this tier is Blackwood. I think if you're not worried about injury, yeah, Sorokin's probably the guy I'd fade, but it's really close. And then if you're worried about injury, I'd fade Demko.
That's fair.
All right. So the next tier.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Next year we're gonna go on to I think aging. We're gonna
so the aging lords. Right? You notice there's kind of a royalty theme here already. These are the guys like they're the vets. I don't think they're gonna have. They're not. I don't want to say too old to have number one goalie finishes, but they're in that definitely older veteran category, and they kind of are what they are. But they're still a quality. I'm okay with having them as number one. Like with the potential of possibly not one of them.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
The first
you want to start with?
We'll start with Bobrovsky just because, like, look, are the regular seasons that like the numbers outstanding? Like last year, he was 905, 240. Like, there's going to be some variance with Bobrovsky in terms of how he does in the regular season. One, the Panthers winning the last two cups, you can kind of tell they kind of lollygag's not the right word, but they definitely pace themselves during the regular season.
But even when they pace themselves, though, like they're still like. They're still one of the best teams in the league, right? If you're going to take a guy kind of in this
notice they do take games where they'll take weeks sometimes where they'll have like really poor stretches, and you can tell it's like a pacing thing.
Well, I was gonna even in spite of that though, like Bobrovsky was fourth in wins, like fourth in goalie wins last year, right? Even with the team kind of just chilling at certain points in the year. So I think like again. It's not that he's a safe pick, but like if the team situation is like extremely safe, so you can kind of just take Bobrovsky and like look, even if his like goals against average, his goals against average is actually pretty like 244 is actually good, but like for example, his save percentage, right? Like, even if you don't like the 905, like you're gonna get a lot of wins, and I think you're okay with that kind of trade off, especially when you're getting into this tier.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because if you look at Bob's numbers last year, again. There's going to be some variance as to what he's going to be. Because if you look at 2023, 2024, he was arguably a top 3 goalie in the league. He had, 36 wins. 915 save percentage, 237. Now last year was obviously different, where there was a lot more variance with his, like last year was 905, 244, but you do get the volume. You're gonna get the wins because Florida is just Florida, and if you're okay dealing with the swings, like where year to year maybe the save percentage isn't the greatest, I think you're okay taking him here, and he's fine as a number one goalie. Like you might want to maybe get maybe take a swing on like a different insurance option or like another volume guy later, but he's fine. Like like he again, worst case you're getting wins. You should get a decent goals above average because Florida's so good defensively, and yeah, I think you're fine.
Yeah, I think the one thing I will say is for those who are drafting him, you don't need to draft Tarasov. Like you don't need to bother with that. So you can do what SJ said and just draft like maybe a younger goalie on a maybe not as good team if you just want more like volume.
Or what you can do,
stats.
honestly, if you are a turn team and you take Bobrovsky, you can go Bobrovsky, Stolarz, Wool, Bobrovsky, Gibson, Talbot, or like a Bobrovsky, Binnington, and then just take a swing on another guy and just like take that volume, take the wins, and then just kind of focus on other categories, right? And take the saves as well, because with volume comes saves, right? So
yeah,
I think there's things you can do with Bobrovsky. It's just what his upside and floor, like in terms of the save percentage, will vary because that's just how he's been throughout his career. There's a lot of year-to-year variance in terms of his save percentage. If you ever,
well, I think with Bobrovsky, like you're not getting very much upside out of him, but because of how good his team is, his floor isn't as volatile as it could be, right? Like it still has a little bit of volatility. Like, will you maybe get a year with like an 899 save percentage? Maybe sure, but then you're also going to get a shit ton of wins with that. So like some of your floor is safe, and then some of your floor is like a little iffy, right? Yeah. And then your ceiling is like kind of meh, like it's okay, but it's not anything spectacular.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next one here, Markstrom. Again, I don't think he's going to challenge for number one goalie, but it's a really good. We talked about this. It's not the same wins upside as I think, obviously Florida, but he's on a really good team. It's a team that's going to win games especially if Jack Hughes is healthy. It's a team that's going to score, so there's going to be a lot of support for him as well. His high danger numbers have always been really good, and you have that going for him as well. Last year was a bit of a dip, so there is a little bit of concern with him, but I do think he bounces back, and he's on a really good team. So that floor is safe in terms of getting wins, and potentially if he's healthy and plays around 55, you can also get the volume. There's just a little bit more concern I have with as opposed to Bobrovsky, because again, durability does come up with Markstrom from time to time.
I was also going to say too with Markstrom, his goals saved above expected last year I think was only 3.4. So like he was basically just like kind of like an average to barely above average or slightly above average goalie. So like again, there's question marks, and I think like his backup, for example, Allen had an 18.4 goals saved above expected. So Allen like kind of outplayed him. It's just again like I think Markstrom with the contract he has, like they're gonna give him the starter like minutes, right? And I think with New Jersey being like they're not as good of a team as Florida, but like they'll still get you a decent chunk of wins. So again, there's not too much tragedy with
Markstrom is like he's put up good seasons on bad teams or bad defensive teams, I should say. Like if you look at 2020, if you look at I think was it last year, a couple like 2023, 2024, he was 9th in goal save above expected on Calgary, right? Again, remember some of those Vancouver Travis Green teams, he had a pretty good high danger save percentage and goal save above expected, despite his team playing fun and gun. So I don't mind having him here. There is more concern with him, I think, than Bobrovsky from a numbers and durability standpoint. But I think he's a floor, you're fine number one. Like I don't think he's gonna finish as like your top 5 goalie, but like
he's top 15.
You're fine. Yeah, he's like a number.
He's gonna be a top 15 goalie for sure. Like there can't be 15 or 16 like better goalies than him. realistically.
And again, I think the Devils will be good, so it gives you a safe floor for, at least in terms of wins, and like again, just the team around him, right? So, moving on to the next one here, Darcy Kemper. Look, do I like what the Kings did in terms of their offseason? Not really,
No.
but one thing they do is they do play defense. They have really good defensive forwards. Is Kemper someone who can like always outplay his situation? No, but he was still sixth in goal save above expected last year. And when I combine that with the Kings defense, that's again maybe took a little bit of hits with the loss of Jordan Spence and adding Cody Ceci, I don't quite understand. But overall, like you still have quality defensive players. You still have Deneau, Kopitar, guys like that who are really good defensive forwards. And the team has a real commitment to defense, almost to their detriment at times. I think Kemper is fine here. I'm okay taking him as my number one. Like again, it's not anything sexy, but like you're okay with it, especially if you prioritized offense and defense and you're just looking to get a number one. I think Kemper's fine here. I also probably have him ahead of Markstrom, to be honest. I think the Kings are just a better defensive team, and that kind of that whole ecosystem kind of plays more. So
well, I also think the Kings are just like they're kind of just like a regular season. Like they're okay they're good they're decent in the regular season, but like it's the playoffs where they usually just suck, right? And like, but again, fantasy doesn't rely on the playoffs, so like I think
otherwise
like, that's why
would be number one.
Yeah, yeah, with his playoff status, oh boy.
Yeah, that's pretty much it there. The last one, man, I just don't know where to put him. So I like this is kind of a nod to his track record and volume, but like I am not high on Yusei Saros. Like we can throw him here. I'm not a fan of it. Look, I get like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, he was number one in goal save above expected. He played 64 games. So yes, like there's track record that he's really good, but the last 2 years have not been good. Last year especially,
and Nashville's only gonna get worse from here. And there's a lot of rumors like as to the fact that like it's funny because when they made all those big signings last year, everyone's like, oh, maybe this is their chance kind of going all in. Man, there was freaking rumors flying that they were ready just to like blow it up after like 3-4 months together, and like. You know, Saros didn't exactly play very.
Guess where Yusei Saros finished in goal save above expected last year?
I'm gonna say like 50 something probably. I think there's only like 75 goalies, okay. So like I'm gonna guess like 55.
84th. This is all goalies at least played a game, but okay, I'm gonna give you some numbers here. So Yusei Saros was 58 games played last year, minus 7.4 goal save above expected. This other goalie last year, 53 games played, minus 8.2 goal save above expected. So a difference of 0.8 in 5 less games. Guess who that second goalie was?
Who played that many games? I'm trying to think. It's not Binghamton. It's not... Sorry, I'm just trying to think of all the goalies around the league. Who was a really bad starter? It's not Tristan Jarry. Like he was way worse. This is an interesting one. I'm trying to think of teams that had really bad goalies, but okay, I'm kind of lost. Yeah, you're gonna have to tell me.
Okay, Elvis Mersleskins.
Bruh, and this is you're joking, right?
No, Elvis Mersleskins last year was 87th. My point is, Saros was not good last year. This team feels like it's going backwards. It's aging. Yossi might have a condition. He might have to like load manage or like maybe might not play certain parts of the year. This is not like a good situation. And if I look at even Saros's counting numbers the last couple of years, like again, went from that year where he was arguably the best goalie in the league, 919, 269. The year before that, 906, 286. Last year, 895, 298. And again, this team's just getting worse. They're selling off parts at times too. So there's also the factor of like, if this continues to tailspin, they might just try to salvage assets as well. We have to put him here because again, the track record, there was a 4-year, 5-year, 6-year run. Or sorry, I'd say a 5-year run where he was really good. So we have to like give him the nod.
But even in the last 3 years, though, you've kind of seen it because, like, in the last 3 years, like, sure, he started the second most games out of all goalies, but the problem is he has 88 wins and 96 losses. Like, he just has more losses than wins at this point. 908 save percentage is not great, and then like the 284 goals against average, again, not great because like his quality starts have been up there, but then it's just again the team around him is worse.
And the difference between him and these other guys are in very good situations. These other three. It's kind of funny we put him in Aging Lords, though, because he's only 29, whereas the other guys are, like, in their mid-30s, like 36,
yeah, mid
35.
Mid-30s,
yeah.
And then 35,
36. Yeah. But yeah, it just feels like Saros is the ultimate favorite.
Well, we have to put him here, right? Because he's not made the round table. He's not really a wild card because he's good, but his team is just show shit.
He's not as bad as some of the other guys. But yeah, I'm just he's the guy. Like, you can take him if you're just scrambling for the volume because he will get that. But I'm just completely fading Saros here. I'm not he's not. I'm actually not on my do not draft list because if he like falls so low, you have to take him. But at his value, at his ranking, I'm just not touching it. I'm good.
And then if you're looking at the guy in this tier that you would like you would take, like, who would you take in this tier? I'm kind of curious to know your take.
I honestly probably Bob. Again,
is it just because of the wins? Just getting all the wins you need?
Just you get you get the volume stats with him, right? You'll get saves, you'll get saves, you'll get wins, you'll get like the quality start potential. He's always weirdly also Florida's team is so good, he'll get shutouts as long as he's not horrible. Because there are games where if you watch how vicious their forecheck is, teams will not shoot on them in copious amounts. Bobrovsky's probably the one I'd take. It's just the safest floor. There hasn't been as much like question mark seasons with him as I've seen with the other two, and his durability. Again, I value the durability of a player when I'm taking them as my number one. My number two and three.
Also, I was going to joke like Florida. Also, Florida brought back their entire team, so it's like it's not as if like it's not as if the team from last year is going to get worse in any way. It's going to be probably the exact same.
Like, all these guys are, like, with the exception of Saros, because he's 6 years younger than these guys, like, all these guys are older, but I have the least questions of the team with Bobrovsky, and I have the least questions regarding... Well, I'd say, like, him and Saros have the two least questions about durability, so I'd take him, just to take my number one and then figure out the rest as I go.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. The next two here made the round table. These are guys that like, again, they don't fall into our other tiers. Other guys like, I think this is the last tier of, I'm okay with these guys as my number one. So the first one's Joey Decord. Joey Decord, he's solid. Like I know it's very lazy to say that, but like last year he was 8th in goal save above expected. The year before, just pulling this up here quickly, he was 29th, but still positive on a bad Seattle team. Like, he's fine. The problem is his upside is curbed because Seattle's just not a very good offensive team. Again, they built the team around, like, 2 second lines and 2 third lines for some odd reason. But the defense is good. Like, again, I think a Riker, Dunn, Montour, Larson, like, grouping is solid. There's not really any competition for him. Like, again, if you prioritized a lot, if you maybe went all in on some other categories, I think Decord's a fine like number one goalie. I don't think you're not really in contention for a lot of wins or like number one goalie ranking, but he's fine. Yeah.
I think again this tier, the tier made the round table as a whole. Like I think for majority of the guys, apart from one of them, like I think they're on teams that are just kind of meh. Right, like Seattle, for example, is the mid of all mid teams, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think one of their guys will mention again, his team also just doesn't score very much, and then their defense has slowly begun to be decimated, and like again, they didn't make the playoffs. And I think there's only one other guy in the tier that maybe has a good team, but then that guy has kind of his own set of question marks, right? So if we want to talk about those guys next, we can kind of dive into them. So
yeah, all right, next one. There's 2 other guys here. Is it Aiden or Adine? I call him Aiden.
Adine. I think Aiden would be AIDAN, right? So I'm guessing it would be Adine.
I'm just gonna say Aiden Hill. So Aiden Hill, couple issues. One, Last year was his first year with really high volume. Like he played, and that even with that was capped as 50 games. Obviously, Vegas is going to be really good. I just don't know how good he actually is, because if you look at his goal save above expected finishes, 16th last year playing 50 games. The year before that, he was 23rd playing 35 games. The year before that, again, like not even in the top 50, right? 40. Oh, sorry, he was 48th, playing 27 games. Last year was the first year he played sizable volume. He's again like I don't know how much they're going to stretch him beyond that. So it's like you have a potential volume issue. Like I don't like is he going to get to 55 games? I'm not quite sure.
Well, he also gets hurt a decent bit of the time too, right? He has a lot of lower body injuries. The only thing I have like the upside for Hill is like he probably plays on the best team in this tier.
Yeah.
Like I think like Vegas by far is just like again they added Marner and like again they're losing Pietrangelo, but I think if you think Caden Korzak's going to be decent, like they still have a number one D guy in Theodore, and then they have a bunch of solid guys.
And their
like,
forwards are defensively responsible forwards. Like Marner's
like you added Selke level Marner, and you also still have Mark Stone, who is again like another
Mark
Selke
Stone,
level
Jack
winner.
Eichel. Like we still have Bill Carlson. Yeah, it's a great team. It's just I'm not convinced how like I honestly think Decord's a better goalie. I know Hill had that crazy Stanley Cup run, yes, but I honestly think Decord right now is a better goalie. It's just again, Hill's team is so good. Like, and the issue I kind of have with Hill is you probably have to get another guy for volume purposes with Hill, which is a little like more so than I feel with the other guys.
You may also just have to take whoever the Vegas backup ends up being. Like that's the other thing that might end up happening. Is you have to draft his backup. Yeah. Like who's there? Like do you know who their backup is right now? I can't even remember.
I'd have to look. It's definitely not Samsonov again. So
let me pull it up. I'll pull it up here.
Okay.
I believe it is Akira Schmid. Oh God. Okay, never mind.
I don't think you have to draft him, no. But I think you're just gonna have to get him and maybe a volume guy to balance it out. But yeah, like again, you're not sexy as a number one. Not like I don't know how great the individual counting stats can be at times with him, but again, he's on a really good team, which gives him a safe floor.
Yeah.
Even if that floor is maybe for 48 games or so. And like even if you look at his numbers, like again, this like last year was the only year he played above 40 games, and he finished with a 906 247. Like there's an issue of like we don't know what his game ceiling is. We don't know also like again, you look at that 1 year with Vegas where he has a 915 245. That was on 27 starts. We just don't know like on high volume what he's gonna be really. We don't have that track record. At least Decord kind of has 2 years of it. We don't have that with Hill. But again, it's something where if you bake that into his price and you're just betting on Vegas being really good and him just riding it, I like for a number one goalie, I think it's fine, I guess.
I think the way I look at it is if you're looking for the better counting stats, like the save percentage and like the goals against average, like you probably just want to lean to Cord if you don't need the wins. But if you need the wins, you're probably leaning more towards Hill. Just means you know that Vegas is just that much better.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one here, and the last one here for this tier is Philippe Gustafsson. Look, there's more questions than you think with him, despite him being really good last year. Like last year in 58 games, he finished with a 914, 256. And if I just got to pull up his goal save above expected here, I believe he was
14th.
Yeah.
Yeah, 14th with a 15.3.
There are some concerns though. One, the upside is curbed because Minnesota, while they were good when Kaprizov was there before he got hurt, they're just not a very good offensive team. Like the depth really falls off offensively after their first line, and I think unless Zeev Buyum hits that offensive, like basically has a Makar level season, I don't know how much that changes with the guys they have. The other,
also, I was gonna say too, the team situation is weird too because they're also trying to trade Rossi, who's like again one of their few like decent offensive players. I don't understand what's wrong with having him, but I mean if they're gonna trade him, like their offense is only gonna continue to get worse, right? And their decor is not hasn't been the same, right? Like it's a lot of older guys that just a lot of them are just like maybe like
It's guys you
top
think
four,
that are
bottom
young,
six,
but you realize they're
but they're
older
not.
because they've played so much. Yeah.
And like they're okay defensemen, but they're not like none of them are like particularly amazing, right? Like at least the way I look at it here. I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up
The
right now just for
argument for
reference. But
Gustafsson, though, is the team is a defensive team and they have quality defensive forwards. And I say what you want about like the upside offensively of like a Spurgeon, Brodin, and Faber. They are good defensively. Yeah, like you can't dispute that. The only thing is with Gustafsson is last year he played 58 games, but it was his only year playing above 50 games. It was only his second year playing above 40. So there is a limited track record with him. Also, one of those years he played above 40 in 2023, 2024, he was terrible, if anyone remembers. He had finished with the save percentage below 900, and he was just really bad that year. So you're talking about a very limited track record of, like, he's basically only played 100, like, he's played 142 games with Minnesota the last 3 years. So it's not a sizable track record, but the peak is he's been a top 10 goalie, which I can't really say for Hill and Decord. And again, it's a very good defensive ecosystem. The other issue you have to consider is Jesper Wallstedt is the backup this year, and he's their all everything. Like you're talking about, first round pick, number one goalie prospect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
He was pretty. I think he was pretty good in the AHL at one point too. So like he's kind of like he's shown that he's like ready. Like I don't want to say he's ready for like experience, but he's ready for some NHL experience at this point, right? Like,
and there's an argument that of that 58 games, like Wallstedt could also eat into that volume, which is also a concern. Like it could be closer to the split he had in 2023, 2024, where maybe it's closer to 45 starts versus 58. And if that volume drops, then it's a little bit more of an issue as to what his ceiling is. But I think like last year was so good, and even 2 years ago on a small sample size was so good that I don't want to call him a wild card, so I kind of have him here. But again, I think if you look at the issues with the track record, the volume, and the potential of Wallstedt, I'd have him above. I don't know. Would I have him above Hill?
no, I wouldn't have him above Hill because I feel like they play similar, like similar volume, but like one's just on like a much better team.
Okay.
And I hate to say this, but I'd rather take the guy on the much better team.
Yeah. I just have these guys you could rank either way. I think if you take them as your number one, you're like, it's not great, but you probably only took them as your number one because you chased offense in the early rounds, or maybe you went like, I'm just gonna go offense hits and then kind of just worry about the goaltending. And one of these guys ended up as your number one. Again, I don't think the upside's very sexy on either of these guys for, again, the reasons we listed, but like they're the last tier of like, okay, I'm fine with them as my number one. I'll figure it out the rest later.
Yep.
All
right. So I think
tier 5 is my favorite tier.
Cards?
This is the wild cards. These are the guys who I think can swing the season one way or another, and depending on how they play, like they will either make or break your goaltending. They will either make or break your goaltending pairs and also change the league. If one of these guys ends up being a hit as a number two, that can elevate to a number one, it's going to change the entire outlook of your fantasy league. So the first one here is Lucas Dostal. He was incredible on a bad team last year. Incredible. So much so that the Ducks decided, hey, John Gibson, we don't need your pouting ass here anymore. You can leave. And he's our number one. And I know the overall counting numbers aren't great. Like people say, he only finished 17th in goal save above expected. If you look at the rest of the counting numbers, it's like, it's not what you'd associate with a guy like that. Again, like last year was 903, 310. But I'm telling you, if you watch the games, this guy was saving the Ducks last year.
Yeah, you understand, like, because if you watch the Ducks, like that team was just I don't want to say they were essentially hanging him out to dry like every single game, and like at a certain point, like no matter how good you are, like your counting stats are gonna suffer just because of how shit the team around you is, right? Like that's kind of the way I look at it. Like I don't look so much at the counting stats. I just look at like the talent and like what I saw. Like he was He was just that good despite how bad his team was.
And the argument here with him is like the issue is it really just comes down to the Ducks. Like, how good are the Ducks? Because last year he played 54 games, which for a guy who's young is pretty good. Like, you could see that elevate to maybe 57, 58 possibly. But
well, that's also a good sample size for a guy that hadn't really played a full year in the league, or really hadn't really been around the league yet, right? Like, I think in your first year, if you're already playing 50 something games in your first year, that's already a good sign, right?
Yeah. And he had like, again, half of those were at least quality. Like, he has as many quality starts as like Allmark, Thompson, and Allmark and Thompson, just as an example. The wildcard factor is the Ducks. Like, if the Ducks, some people are high on the Ducks this year, at least higher enough that they won't finish as one of the worst teams in the league. If the Ducks become better, if they're like pushing for a 4 spot in the Pacific, if Quenneville, if they make the Quenneville leap, right, and this team, or even some of the defensive prospects take a leap as well. Like, you saw glimpses of Jackson Lacombe, you saw kind of what Olin Zellweger could be as a puck moving defenseman. Minchikov in sheltered minutes looked okay. There's the potential that the Ducks can fly, and like, if the Ducks take off as a team with all that young talent, Dostal will take off. The downside is if the Ducks still suck this year, you're going to be on a roller coaster with Dostal, because there's going to be games where he's going to do everything he can to keep them in it, but the counting stats, like the goals above average and the save percentage, might not be that great, is the only issue. And the wins, are going to be curbed as well. So
yeah, like last year he had a 903-310, but like I think 903-310, given the situation, given the kind of shit he was dealing with, was actually really good. Like, given the situation, right? The problem is you really have to hope that the Ducks do get, like, I don't want to say significantly better, but like, you do have to hope they get significantly better, because otherwise, like, he's still going to be like, he's going to be a good third goalie to have, but he won't make that leap to being your second goalie. And like, again, this is the tier of guys where ideally you want one of them to be like your second goalie, because like you hit on them and they're your second goalie, right? So
yeah, pretty much. All right. The next wildcard swing here is, everyone's favorite. If you played fantasy through all 82 games, everyone's favorite wildcard swing, Jack Greaves.
I'm just gonna say, this guy came out of fucking nowhere, and I remember seeing a Reddit post about him pop up, because everyone was like, who the fuck is this guy? Where did he come from? So for reference, he only played 11 games last year, but those 11 games he played, he was like Hasek level good. Like, I'll break down his counting stats for you. So 7 wins in 11 games, 2 shutouts, a 191 goals against average, and a 938 save percentage. And for those who are wondering, like, in spite of only playing 11 games, he was 15th in goals saved above expected with a 14.5. In 11 games. Keep in mind, the two guys he's between played 58 and 50 games apiece. And it's Gustafsson and Hill, who I think are literally in the tier above him.
I normally don't react to 11 game sample sizes, but this was like, that sample size was so insane. It's like in Spider-Man when, the Mask was yelling at Norman Osborn to put him on. That's what I kind of felt like. I was like, oh my God, I have to look at this. And he is a guy that, while I believe he was undrafted, does have some pedigree to him. He has been touted. It's just, you're taking a swing on 11 games. That's really it. But
also, Greaves is the kind of guy, like, he's kind of worked his way up, right? Because I think I read about a situation where he was undrafted because he was like, he's a lot smaller of a goalie. Like, I think he's barely like 6 feet or something. Like, he's a smaller goalie. I think the Blue Jackets needed a goalie for one of their one of the off season summer kind of tournaments, and they kind of signed him. And then he played well enough. They gave him an AHL contract, and then he earned an NHL contract like after playing well with their AHL affiliate, right? So he's worked his way up. Like, he's done it the hard way, and like, again, those 11 games were really fucking good. Like, yes, were they against, like, maybe 2 of them were against Washington, but like the rest of them weren't against like super powerhouse teams. But with that kind of sample size, like, man, you do have to turn your head and kind of look at it, because you're like, wow.
And think about it for sure. And I think he's the swing that will change your league, because if he's even 80% of what those numbers are on at least like 40 starts, that could potentially be a league winner. His potential's that good. But again, you're taking a swing on a very small sample size. I'm not as worried about the team because I think the offense in Columbus is going to be really good under Evason. Last year, if you remember, Monahan's line, when healthy, was one of the best lines in the league. They have Fantilli took like arguably a mini leap his last year, and they signed Charlie Coyle. So I think the forward depth is really good. Werenski obviously will provide his own offense. The defense is a little bit iffier, but again, Columbus's biggest weakness has been, can they have at least league average goaltending? And if Jet Greaves is, again, if he's anything, the wins will skyrocket and Columbus will be a playoff team. And he's the guy where if you're comfortable taking him as your number 2 and making that swing, you could get potential like number 1 level goaltending for 45 games, and that could win you your league. Because if you, let's say you take... Oh, sorry?
Yeah, go. You finish first, and I'll.
Well, let's say you decide, hey, I'm going to take Ottinger, and later on, I'm just going to take a massive swing on Greaves, and I grab Casey DeSmith to like end off my draft. I have 82 Stars games, and if Jet Greaves hits and he's a number 1 goalie for 40, my goaltending is set the entire year.
Yeah, I think with Columbus's defense too, like again, you mentioned Werenski, like he does have his defensive lapses here and there, but like Provorov, in spite of the massive contract he paid, like he's still an okay defenseman. And I think if Matejchuk takes a leap, and like Fabro actually earned like a decent contract with Columbus, like he actually looked decent compared to like his time in like Nashville, right? Like if any of those guys like just I think those first 4 guys, like if they play like okay enough, like the defense in front of Greaves isn't like egregiously bad, right? And if Greaves again plays like 80%, 70% of what he showed in this 11-game sample size. Like, if he plays 70% of that next year, like, he's going to be a hell of a steal.
Yeah, it's your balance is, it's Columbus's defense versus, and the sample size versus, well, look at his 11 games. And he's, like, to me, he's the ultimate wild card swing. And I'm curious to see what his average draft position is. But to me, of all these players, he's the ultimate, like...
I think he's the guy that I would just take, like, I would take without hesitation in this tier. Like, I would just be like, yep, yoink. Like, maybe it's just me, I'm a bit of like not a gamble, but I love to take a good risk. And, like,
he's a guy I wouldn't take unless I had a really strong one. Like, if I had Aiden Hill, I wouldn't. But if I had, like, an Ottinger, Shesterkin, like... Even a Bobrovsky,
here's my thing, right? If you have an Aiden Hill and like you're already like kind of having question marks there, why not just take the swing anyways? Because like because
that's a fair point. Why? Like
because at that point, like you've already settled on Hill, so you might as well just like swing for the fences, right? Like
that's true. Like if you go Gustafsson, the other guy we'll talk about, Wallstedt and Greaves, like you're swinging for the fences, but I mean, why not? Well, let's bring up the next one here. Jesper Wallstedt. Again, last year was Gustafsson's first year playing over 50 games. So this is Wallstedt's first year as the backup. There's a chance he gets quality volume. And again, the pedigree's there. He was a first-round pick, one of the number one, if not the number 1 goalie prospect, definitely in the top 2, top 3. He showed flashes in the AHL. He's on a defensive team. He's not with a guy who's going to get like 60 starts or has shown, he's going to play those 60 games. Like, again, last year was his first year, Gustafsson's first year over 50. And in the event that Wallstedt actually starts outplaying Gustafsson, there's a real chance that, and Minnesota's shown this, where like there were times where Fleury was outplaying Gustafsson, they'll hand him the reins. There's no question. And
now,
I really think...
Wallstedt's a bit of a wild card here because, again, like last year in the AHL, he wasn't really... Like, he had a 359 goals against average and an 879 save percentage in 27 games in the AHL last year. So there are question marks with... Like, there are some question marks with Wallstedt. Like, again, with Gustafsson, like, Gustafsson played okay enough that, like, Wallstedt's not going to get the job straight out of camp. But again, I think if Gustafsson falters and Wallstedt takes the reins, like, there's a chance that could happen, right? But again, Wallstedt has the pedigree, which is, I think that's why he's going to get, first shot at being the backup and maybe even like eventually get some starter minutes. But there are some question marks there because again, he hasn't, in the games he's played in the NHL, he hasn't been super great. And then even last year in the AHL, he wasn't very good either.
Well,
right?
The thing is, the 2023 year where he played 45 games, he did have a 910 270. But so there has been, again, flashes. It's the prospect pedigree you're taking the chance on. And again, if he is going to play 35, maybe 37, 40-ish games, he does get to do so in a decent defensive ecosystem. Again, the issue is like you're basically taking a guy who's starting the year as a backup. Unless you're the Gustafsson owner, you're taking a guy on another team who doesn't have a track record at the NHL level, is starting the season as a backup, and there's a real chance like if he's not good to start the year, like suddenly maybe that 35 drops down to 30, and now what are you holding him for? So there's a lot of risk with this one, but I think he's one of those guys, again, where if you take the swing and he hits, like, you have something there.
And like you might have a guy that you can just keep her for like the next 10 plus years potentially.
If you're
like there is that.
Sure,
yeah. So
the next one here, UPL. I don't know how to feel about this guy. Like he shows flashes periodically. Like he'll run through months where he is hot. But it's just like he never puts it together, and I don't know if he ever will.
The weird thing is Buffalo's talented enough, like as a team, that like they should be a lot better. But I don't know what it is with the Sabres. They just haven't been very good in a long time. So that doesn't help with the UPL situation because you do want a guy that'll get you at least some wins, right? Even if they're not good. The problem with UPL is he's good at times, but then he's also bad at times. But when he's bad at times, you don't get the wins. And then when he's good at times, you still don't get the wins sometimes because, like, again, the Sabres as a whole are just haven't been
the
very
Buffalo
well
Sabres
run.
are and like they're not a very good defensive team. Like last year, they were 26th in expected goals against. They were 28th in high danger chances against. And if I remember correctly, they are not a very... Yeah, they're 23rd in the penalty kill. So, like, in all facets, they're just not a very good defensive team. The thing is, you do see the potential, and it is tantalizing. And, like, there might be a position where you might just have to take him because you know he'll at least start. But, man, it's just, like, you're waiting on him to put potential. And, like, again, he'll go on runs. Like, I remember, like, I think in November last year, he had, like, it was crazy. I think it was like over a 920 save percentage, less than 2 goals against. And you'll see those flashes, but it's like there's a lot of dreck with him, and the team's not very good. Like, there's a chance he puts it together. He's probably the one I'm fading the most, which is saying something, but in this tier, but I'm just not. But I have to give him credit because, again, the flashes are there.
Like, and also saying something, too, because, again, I think we have another goalie in this tier who's on even arguably worse team. So, like, if we're fading a guy like UPL, like, I think that does speak a lot to the Sabres situation as a whole.
Right. And then there's also the issue with him where, like, Levi, I don't know if he's ever going to be a thing, but there is that possibility. Although they did sign UPL to, like, a deal, so there is something there. But anyways, we'll move on. Next one, Jeremy Swayman. I mean, like, look, this can go both ways. You can argue that there was the contract situation that dragged him, and that's part of the reason why he wasn't good. And that's a fair argument. Like, I'm not going to dispute. If you want to make that claim that the other years before that, Jeremy Swayman was very good, and last year, because of the camp issue, he wasn't ready, and it was a slow grind, and he just didn't get there at the end of the year. Fine. But to play devil's advocate, last year was the first year he played over 45 games, and he wasn't good. The Bruins are rebuilding, and this team is just going to get worse. And the other thing, too, is who's to say they're not going to start trading assets like they did last year in the deadline, where they traded Brandon Carlo, just as an example.
Brad Marchand as well. Like they traded a lot of their better players. So it's like, right. Again, Swayman, the team in front of Swayman is already significantly worse. Again, the Bruins as a whole don't have a lot of offense. Like, I think apart from like Pasternak and Geeky, like I couldn't tell you where else their offense is going to come from. So even if Swayman's good in a lot of those games, you're not going to get very many wins from him. And I think the Bruins defense is also not as good as it was when they had both Ullmark and Swayman.
And their offense is atrocious. Like, I remember there were games last year where they'd have periods with like 2 shots on goal. Like, it was horrible. And again, it's like, so even if you make the argument that like last year was a one-off and he'll go back to maybe his 2023 kind of form, it's like, well, again, I don't get a lot of offensive support. Defense is a little, I like McAvoy. Lowry has potential, but is a little bit rocky, especially now that Carlo is not in the picture. And obviously, like, you know, Lindholm's good too, but and I'm in a division that's also very tough. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure again who's going to be on this roster midway through after the midway point of the season. It's like, even if he is really good, there's a pure ceiling here, but there's also the floor that like maybe there's the possibility that on larger volume, he's just not as good. Maybe he's not 892, 311 bad, but if he's say 909, 910 on 56 games, and I'm on a team that just can't score, what's my upside?
Well, I was even thinking maybe if he's like 905, like 260, 270 kind of thing too. And like, and if he's on a team that doesn't score, like you're not getting very many wins. He's also not as good as you think. And I think again, like because of his name, he might also be a little bit over. I think he might be a little overdrafted too. Like there's still that chance too. And I just don't think he's worth the risk.
And I know you could make the argument that Boston got a new coach, but last year again, 24th on the penalty kill, which matters when you think about how many goals are scored on the power play. They were 17th in high danger chances against, and in expected goals against, they were 16th. So this isn't like the top 10 defenses of Bruins past, and there's a potential it gets worse, because bear in mind, these numbers were with at least half a year of guys like Brandon Carlo, right? So, and they didn't do much to replace those guys, right? And Tanner Janot's definitely not going to help any numbers. So
I think the counter argument too is like they didn't have McAvoy for like after the Four Nations, right? So the counter argument is they didn't have either McAvoy or Carlo, but at least like I know McAvoy usually gets hurt, but like maybe at least this year they'll have a bit more of like McAvoy, for example. Like,
That's fair. But I think overall the lack of wins, I think the lack of wins just curbs it here. And again, there is the upside that he plays well despite all this because he does have a track record. The downside is maybe he's not as great on high volume, and all of a sudden now the Bruins suck, and you're kind of stuck with the worst of both worlds, right? Like a guy who's not putting up great peripherals, but also the team's not good, which is the worst place to be in, I think, in fantasy.
Yeah. Like you rather, like I hate to say this, but you rather have like a guy like Dostal who puts up like good peripherals when like on a bad team than, or like maybe like I'd even say like maybe like Hill, where it's like, you know, he's on a really good team, but like his stats kind of leave you lacking. Like you rather one of those two situations than I guess what Swayman's situation could be.
Yeah, exactly. Last one here. You wanted in here, so you make the case because I don't agree with this. So I don't.
So Askarov to me is the kind of guy that could be like the Dostal of last year. That's the way I see it. Again, I do agree that the Sharks, this Sharks team is going to be horrible defensively. But again, I think we said the same thing with the Ducks. Is like they weren't a very good team either. And I do think the Sharks at least have a good offense. And I think Askarov, for me, like he's going to get the starter minutes straight off the bat, right? Because they're not going to start Alex Nedeljkovic as their starter. Like we've seen that experiment work out.
On
and
like
apart from
4 different
Carolina,
teams.
and it only worked in one situation, which was in Carolina. And even in that situation, he only played like 30 games or 30 something games, which wasn't very much to begin with. But I think with Askarov, we have a limited sample size, so there's not a lot of numbers that we can, you know, use to kind of justify his situation. But I think just, you know, him getting the starter minutes and getting to play a bit, like I think, and he has the talent. Like he is I think he was drafted 11th in his year. So like he is like a top
first round
like
pick,
15
prospect pedigree showed the flashes. He kind of has a very unique style. I like that he's kind of uses his poke check. Again, I'm old school in that regard, but the upside is, yeah, like I think the upside you mentioned it is like maybe the ceiling is like that Jet Greaves level performance kind of, which is unrealistic for sure, but maybe that's there. More likely, I kind of like the best case is settling into a Dostal from last year. Worst case is the Sharks are just bad for this year and he's just borderline unrosterable. But again, that's what makes him such a wild card. And like, if you're one of those guys who again just wants to kind of take a homer swing, that's kind of the guy there. Another guy there.
I think the other thing too is like at least with him, like usually like with these goalies, like on bad teams, they might not have a shot at being the starter straight away. Like he's gonna be the starter straight away, just given who's on the roster and what their team looks like. So,
well, I mean, I'd argue 4 of the guys in this tier, 5 are gonna at least start the season as a starter. So,
I'm talking about from like a rookie perspective, right? Like because a lot of rookie goalies don't get to come in and just be the starter right away. Like, and he will just because of what his team is around him.
And basically kind of why he was traded there, yeah. Like I said, of this tier, the guy I'd take the swing on would be Greaves. The guy I'm fading is UPL. And that's saying something because Askarov's in that tier. And I'm not...
I was going to say, you didn't want Askarov in this tier, but you're going to actually fade... I thought it was interesting you'd fade UPL despite that. That's kind of crazy.
It's because at least Askarov has the... Like, sometimes what you don't know is more tantalizing than what you know.
Yeah, and we've seen enough of UPL over these years, right? So
the upside and the unknown of Askarov is more tantalizing than what I already know UPL is to an extent. So that's why.
Okay, that's fair.
Tier 6, so I know Tier 6 is 2 pair. Again, following the Royal theme here, I feel like you need to get both these guys, because otherwise the issue you're going to have during the year is you might have one, somebody might have the other, and somebody's losing that arrangement. So ideally, these are the 2 guys I want to take where if you're maybe at the turn, you kind of want to just grab both these guys if you can. And that's a strategy that is viable, especially with the first pair, which is Stolars and Wool. If Stolars and Wool were one evident too, because they would be the best goalie in the league. The problem is they're not.
I think the other problem too is they're both kind of injury prone, right? So you want both of them together because, like, when one goes down, you want to have the other guy playing. Like the other guy's going to play majority of the starts, so you want the other guy, right? So it sucks if you only have one of them and then you have the guy that gets hurt. That's the way I look at it.
The upside though is just so good. Like last year, Stolars was 4th in goal save above expected. Wool was 11th. As I know the Leafs lost Marner, they might take a bit of a step back, but this is a team that does good in the regular season, so they still have that. The team is still a decent quality defensive team. Again, if these 2 were one guy, they would be the best goalie in the league. Unfortunately, you have to draft both these guys. I think the issue is, I think Stolars is the better goalie, but again, there is the risk that he just plays less games. I think you kind of have to take both. And like the biggest fear is, you draft one guy, the other guy somebody else takes the other guy, and somebody's clearly winning that exchange. The only thing I'll say why I feel less worse about this one is I think both guys will put up quality numbers. So you're not getting a negative return. It's just you're kind of like, if you take the wrong one, you know what I mean?
Also, again, like I said, they're both quite injury prone, so you kind of want both of them so that when one goes down.
Speaking of injury prone, let's cut to the second pair. Kochetkov and Anderson. I'm not gonna lie, I know Carolina's really good, but if I don't get both, I do not want to figure this out. I just don't.
Oh yeah, Anderson dealt with like a boatload of injuries, and like I think he had the blood clots at one point too, right? So that's like again, like he's just very injury prone, and I think even in his Toronto years, he was also injury prone too, right? So you kind of know that with him. Kochekhov's kind of weird because Kochekhov's kind of we always think he's better. We always think he's better than what he is.
I don't think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We always think he's better than what he is, but like you look at his numbers, like I think his goal stated above expected at one point was like barely above zero. It wasn't very much above 0, right? So it's like he's kind of like an average goalie on a team that plays like pretty decent. Like
last year, he had a 260, 897 save percentage. Granted, the year before was 233, 911, but it's like there's not a lot of track record with him. Anderson's the better goalie, but he's just hurt all the time. And basically, like the problem is if you pick one over the other, like if you take Anderson, you're like, I'm getting the better goalie, but I'm getting the way higher injury risk. And there's a chance like Anderson only plays like 25 games, right? That if with Kochetkov, you're getting probably the better durability, but you're getting the worst goalie. Now, granted, both of these guys are in a very good ecosystem defensively in Carolina, where not only do they put up enough shots that, There's not a lot of high danger chances coming back the other way. The defense in Carolina is pretty good, especially with whenever Jacob Slavin's on the ice. The issue is just like trying to pick between one of these two guys is tough because it's like it's not like Wool and Stolars where even if you pick the other one, like there's a similarity to the two in what you're getting. With these two, I'm just getting the exact opposite. So I almost want to get both these guys just to make sure I have the Carolina starts. But if say someone swings on Anderson, unless my situation's really bad, I'm avoiding Kochetkov, and I'll just let somebody else figure. Like I'll let the other two guys battle that out.
Well, also it's weird too because even being in a good defensive situation, both of them had save percentages that were under 900, right? Like Anderson was 899 and like Kochetkov was 897. So like even being in a good situation, they also weren't that like great either. And like goals against average 260 and 250, like respectively, right? Like in that kind of defensive situation, like you kind of want, I don't want to say you expect better, but you really do expect better, right?
Yeah, but like I'll give Anderson just a little bit credit more with the track record. But again, it's the health and the better goalie on one side, the durability. You get the durability, but the worst stats on the other side. It's like it's a tough one. Unless you get both, it's like whoever. And again, the other issue too is if Anderson, knock on wood, is healthy, whoever took Kochetkov just lost that exchange. So that's the other issue.
Yeah, Kochetkov might play like 20. Kochetkov plays like 20 games, maybe 25 games.
I'd say maybe 30, but yeah, you just took a guy like you just lost that. Yeah, you just there's the value return just isn't there. And then the last pairing here is the Gibson Talbot duo. I'm pretty sure Gibson's going to get a majority of the starts, but Talbot is when he plays he's solid. Like he's someone that can push if Gibson doesn't play well. Gibson was really good last year, but both these guys are injury risks. So both these.
Also, Gibson's coming off a weird stretch where, like, apart from last year, like last few years, he just hasn't been good, right? So I don't know which I'm kind of curious to see which John Gibson you see. Like, do you see the version that's kind of found himself and like is at least a solid goalie, or do you see the ones from years past where he's just an atrocious goalie?
Yeah. And the thing is, too, like, Detroit's not a great, like, they're a bottom 10, I'd say, defensive team. They showed some upside, and there is some upside with the roster, but they're a bottom 10 defensive team, I'd say. And then their power penalty kill was, I think the worst in the league last year. I think they gave up, their penalty kill percentage was almost basically 70%, so they gave up, they basically gave up a goal, like, every 3 out of 10 power plays, which is crazy. This, like, it's also, again, it's of these two other situations, I get the injury risk of Gibson and Talbot, but then I also get the worst team, which is also why I have these guys here. But I feel like if you're going to end up investing shares in Gibson or Talbot, you should grab both.
Yeah, you need both, right? Because again, they're both such injury risks. Like
Gibson's going to be the starter initially, but again, yeah, it's an injury risk, and like we don't know. Like Talbot could outplay him. It's not like it hasn't been done before. Talbot in that one Kings year was really good. Talbot that one Wild year was really good. He has those years,
Yeah. So yeah, this tier is basically just like you need to get both guys.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter what it is. Like you just need both of them. Whether it's because like I guess the only exception could be the Stolars Wool one, but then again, like you're gonna lose a lot of games played like if you only have one of them. Exactly. And then in the case of Gibson, like Talbot and like Anderson Kochetkov, like you do really want both because there's a much higher like injury risk associated with those like 4 guys.
Yeah. I think Volume Merchants was our next tier. That was actually supposed to be above the Rich Jester.
Okay, let me just move it real quick. Can I move it? Wait, hold on. Oh wait, I can move it. Yes, I can do this. Yes. Okay, there you go.
All right, Volume Merchants. These are guys where it's nothing sexy, but they get volume, and it's one person's case. They get almost a human rights abuse level of volume last year.
Do you want to start with him then?
Yeah, sure. Karel Vejmelka. Look, I'll say this. He plays a lot of games, and he's durable. I mean, he showed that last year when for some reason, Andre Tourigny refused to play Jackson Stauber at all down the second half of the year, basically. And his numbers aren't they're not great, but they're not atrocious either. And
like his goal save above expected was 14.2, which put him 18th, right? So he was like fine. I think the problem is like he played so much. I think he just got worn down.
And again, 14th. Sorry, you said 18th or 14th?
Well, he was 18th with a 14.2 goal
despite playing that many games. Like I think we pulled it up one time where he basically at a certain point only missed like 2 games during the last almost 3 months, basically.
Yeah, and I mean the one appeal with that is like you don't have to waste like you could theoretically you don't have to ever grab like the Utah backup because like you just stream him, you get him on the back to backs. You don't ever have to worry about streaming a goalie if you need a start. Like you just like he'll start. The question is like how tired is he and like will he play well if he's just that tired?
I do think Vanacek will get more starts than Jackson Stauber for some reason, but I don't think it's going to be like Ingram where it's going to be like a 50-50. Like it's definitely going to be more still in favor of Vejmelka, and he showed you he can kind of ride the workload, especially the second half of the year. The question is, what are the numbers? And that can go either way because the numbers, like he's never really had outstanding numbers, but there's a chance Utah could take a leap this year, and if they do, you could see an increase in wins. Even if he's at, like, say, 905, 903 with, like, a mid-250 goals against, but the wins go up and he plays a lot of games and gets you a lot of saves as well, that's something. It's not great.
Well, also, I was going to say, Utah's offense is just going to be really, really good. So, like, even in the games he's bad, you might still be able to get some wins out of him just because, like, their offense can kind of carry him in the starts that he doesn't play well, right? So it's not like for example like a Dostal situation where if it's like if he plays well but he can play well but his offense still sucks, and even if he doesn't play well his offense also still sucks, right? So
like he's one of those guys you could pair with like a Stolar's Wool as like your draft strategy. Like you could go all forwards and D early, and then maybe at some point middle of the draft if you're not in a draft with a bunch of Leaf fans like we are here, we'll see WillyDubz included, but if you're not, you can go Vejmelka, like Stolars and Wool, or you can even go Anderson, Kochetkov, Vejmelka. Just do that. Like, or what you can do is if you have the volume of him as the backbone, you can maybe take a swing on a guy like Greaves, and then another wild card. Like again, there's things you can do when you have the backbone of the volume that he does. There's things you can do. I'd try to pair him with guys who have better peripherals, though, for sure, just to balance it out. And again, that could just be, you could just go Vejmelka, Stolar's Wool, Vejmelka, Anderson, Kochetkov. All can kind of be had in the middle rounds. And I think it's not great, but it's serviceable it's serviceable. And if Vejmelka does run hot in the playoffs, in the playoffs weeks, you're there. The other one, speaking of guys that can run hot or run cold, Jordan Binnington, he's going to get the volume. He is just like he's a better Stuart Skinner, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. Where like game to game, I don't know what I'm gonna get, but his version of on is better, and his version of off is not as bad. And St. Louis is a good team. Like they
have Montgomery as their coach, right? And Montgomery like usually plays a very good defensive system, so they're gonna it's gonna help Binnington to an extent, even if he doesn't have some of the greatest nights, right?
Like. And he does have moments like, again, if you look at his pre-Four Nations to post-Four Nations, like he'll have stretches where he's really good and he'll have stretches where he's not good. And like it ebbs and flows through the year, but if you're comfortable, if you get the volume, you just kind of deal with it, basically.
I was gonna say shout outs to Richmond Hill's finest. I'm just kidding. For those who don't know, I have like a pure hatred for this guy, even though he's from my hometown. I don't know why. Bro, he's not good. That's all I'm gonna say. Like
what? I mean, again, volume counts, and in this case, I'm okay with it. Like but again, with Binnington, same thing with Vejmelka. I look to pair him with, again, like guys who are gonna put up better peripheral numbers, even like a guy like maybe Joey Decord or something, where maybe like there's a little bit more upside in a little bit more stable of a floor with Decord versus Binnington. Like something like that would be fine too, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
That's fair.
Moving on to the Rich Jester. This is just one guy. It's Stuart Skinner.
There's one guy. He will get you wins and nothing else. I think that's
if Binnington's a roller coaster. Binnington's like the ones you see where the kids get on, and it's like, any kid, like even the like the kids that are 5 feet that go to like Center Island and they play the kiddie coaster. That's Binnington. This guy is like the most insane roller coaster you like. Okay, at Wonderland in Canada, we have this roller coaster where people go standing up. I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
What, do you know the name of it? I can't remember the name.
It's like you're hooked in and you're upright.
Oh, okay. So that's Stuart Skinner.
Or let me put it this way. Another example: if Binnington's the kiddie coaster, Stuart Skinner's the bat.
Oh, are you referring to the Wonderland bat one? That one?
Yes, Stuart Skinner is the bat. And people look up the bat at Wonderland, where
ride.
It goes forward and then it literally goes in reverse the other way.
Yeah, it does.
And
I hated that fucking ride.
That's basically Stuart Skinner, where he'll get you the wins. And when he's hot, I'll say this, when he's hot, he's really good. But when he's bad, he is unstartable. And
yeah, when he's bad, he's like you wish you had dropped him and never drafted him. Like, it's that bad.
If I look up the Stuart Skinner advanced stats here, sorry, I'm just curious. Like it gold save above expected. Stuart Skinner 65th in 2024-2025, in 36th in 2023-2024, an upgrade.
Well, it's weird because Skinner last year had 25 quality starts in 51 games. He's literally
Jekyll
like
and Hyde. Yeah.
He literally gives you either the quality start or he gives you absolutely jack shit.
And the other issue with Skinner too is Edmonton's in a win now window. If Skinner goes through his Jekyll Hyde, again, bat roller coaster moments, there's a real chance they look to upgrade at the deadline, and then you have no value. And people are acting like, sorry?
Or I guess with the recent case, like I guess with Carter Hart being not guilty, I guess there's that avenue too, where Stan Bowman's like, I know they haven't been reinstated yet because I think the NHLPA is trying to dispute that right now, why they can't be reinstated even though they got the not guilty verdict. But essentially, like, I think the first moment that Carter Hart's reinstated to play in the NHL,
it's a possibility.
You sure as hell are gonna see him go to Edmonton and probably replace Stuart Skinner.
But also, like, if during the season, maybe, and these are long shots, but like maybe a guy like Saros, maybe Nashville, Saros is willing to waive. Like, there's avenues at trade that could become available depending on if certain teams fall out. There's a real risk of that, and there's also a risk that like Picard just outplays him as well. Like, there's a lot of risk with Skinner, but like Edmonton's going to be good, so he'll give you wins. So he's a court jester of fantasy hockey goalies, but he lives in the richest house, so you're kind of like, okay, there's a little bit more there.
Basically, he'll get you wins and nothing else. I think that's the best summary of this.
Well, he'll get you wins, and at his peak, he'll be really good. It's just you're gonna have to deal with the downs, and it's not. Anyone that's owned Stuart Skinner knows how unfun it is, especially in a head-to-head format, or if you're playing Cats, it's not. He's a bit more stomachable. Well, actually, no, even in points, because he can lose you weeks because goalie stats and points are weighted really heavily. So bad starts actually destroy you. So like the only format I think he's stomachable in is Roto, really, but somebody's going to take him because the Oilers win games, and he'll have a lot of goal support generally. Or
in our league, if we have a couple of Oilers fans, so maybe one of them just yoinks him anyways. But
yeah, pretty much. All right, backups. These guys are kind of interesting. We could just kind of slot them here. These are high level backups where you kind of want to pair them with your starter, or B, they'll get enough volume to be relevant, or C, there is some interesting upside with these guys. So Kevin Lankinen, again, Demko being an injury risk, Lankinen actually being pretty solid when he did play. If I'm the Demko owner, I almost always want to get Lankinen. But he's also, honestly, if you have enough volume from some of your other guys, just picking him up as a third goalie is fine.
Yeah. I think you can also say the same thing for Jake Allen too, right? Because Jake Allen,
Yeah.
he actually outplayed Markstrom in terms of goals saved than expected last year. Like Markstrom had a 3.0 or 3.4 goals saved above expected, and I think Allen actually had if I remember correctly, 18.4 in
Yeah.
31 games to rank him ninth. So I think if you're the Markstrom owner, it would be nice to have Allen as your second goalie, just get all of New Jersey starts because New Jersey's going to be a good team. So I think that it's a pretty reasonable strategy, and then you can draft like a third like volume guy potentially. Like
For
I think
sure.
that's a pretty viable strategy for that one too.
And I think like Lindgren, I'd have so Lindgren I just have lower because I like again Thompson's not going to play 55, 60 games, so Lindgren's going to get the volume, but the quality of the volume is debatable, which is the issue. I think Hofer and Miralainen have upside. Hofer showed a lot of flashes in terms of what he could be. It's just again Binnington does get the volume, so that kind of curbs it. But I think he's a really interesting watch. Miralainen, when he played last year, was electric at times. He was like there were some hot streaks with him, but again, it might take an Allmark injury. But he's somebody to keep a watch on because the Sens organization is higher on him. And again, when he did play, he did show flashes. And Blomqvist is probably just at the end here because there's a chance he could take the starter role, but it's a starter role for the Sens. So
I think that's the only reason why I have him here, is just because like, oh, there's a chance he becomes starter because Jari's just that bad. That's literally my only argument I could give you. Because Pittsburgh as a team is not a great team. Like, and then I think last year you saw like under Sullivan, like, you know, most high danger chances for, but also the most high danger chances against.
And it's a rebuilding team that again is gonna sell off assets to try to get younger and acquire more draft capital. So
yeah.
All right, and the last one here are what we call the poor adjusters. These are like they aren't in good situations. So I'd almost not draft these guys, but somebody has to take them because they're starters at the end of the day. I mean, in Fedotov's case, not really, but like they're there. Like
I think this is the order I probably have them in. Like just because because they're already poor gestures. Like I'll just put Knight at the top there because of the talent. Again, like the pedigree. Like he was drafted in the first round, like in the top 15, and like it's just the problem is he plays in the Blackhawks and they're not a very good team. So that's
what's your argument for not having him where Askarov is? Is the argument just like you've seen more of it?
I think Knight's issue is like I've seen him like I think again like you mentioned it's better the unknown is sometimes better, right? Like for Askarov, like we've only seen like 11-ish games, like we still don't really have a good idea of what he is. Like with Knight, we've seen him at times where like we've seen flashes where like like we've seen flashes where in that series against Tampa, for example, he came in after Bobrovsky struggled and he actually gave like he was the sole reason why Florida had a chance in that series at times, right? But you also seen other instances with Knight where he was bad enough where he got sent down. And also Knight's, I think, also had his battle with OCD, and I don't know if that maybe like resurfaces and like he gets put in the player assistance program again. Hopefully, ideally that's not the case. Ideally, you don't want that to be the case, but like there's just a lot more random factors that play into that, right? Like that,
and the Blackhawks
like a bit of a risk.
Be bad, yeah.
And the Blackhawks are going to be bad for sure.
Yeah.
And like I think the Blackhawks defense might be slightly better, but their offense just isn't like. It's just kind of apart from Bedard.
But he's the guy of the poor adjuster. I could see just not being. I could see him jumping to at least like wild card status, possibly if he's good enough. Because he, I mean, again, did have 6.9 goal save above expected overall last year. So there's potential. It's just there's so much working against him when you consider the ecosystem, the fact that teams rebuild.
Well, also, the question with that too is like how much of that 6.9 was with Florida and how much of that was with Chicago, right? Like that is a question mark too.
But the argument I will say that holds against him is again, this is a rebuilding team, so they're still selling they're still selling guys for draft capital. It's a team in the toughest division. Well, if not the toughest division, like right up there in terms of the depth in hockey. It's a team that's not a great defensive situation. All their defensemen are young for the most part, which is another issue. And again, like the splits last year with Chicago in 15 games were he was 907, 240 with Florida, 318, 893 with Chicago, and he's also never played above 40 games in a year. So there's a lot. And again, not a great ecosystem for a young goalie development, but there's a chance he outplays it, and he's probably of this tier. He's the only one I would even consider drafting.
Yeah, the rest of these guys I wouldn't draft. Like Jari,
Jari's
like
just,
for those who don't know, I think like Jari, like I'm just trying to pull up his goal save that I was expected here. Like, yeah, so minus 4.7. Like he was basically
79th in the league.
Yeah, 79. So he wasn't good. Like Bloomquist, I will argue like Bloomquist had the same goal save that I was expected, but like in less sample size. But like at least with Bloomquist, there's like upside. There's no upside with Jari.
They tried to dump him in the minors. Like it's just not. And again, it's not a good team. Like this team is not going to win games. If there's a good deal to be had on certain players at the deadline, they're going to get moved. So again, there's not much there. And Jari's already proven that, like, he outside of 1 year, he really hasn't. He doesn't have much of a track record. And the other issue, again, not even mentioning this, is like, if Blomqvist outplays him, who's to say he's not the starter? So there's just really not much there. And then the last,
well, again, like you mentioned, they were willing to dump it in the minors too. So like if Blomqvist outplays him, like they're definitely going to start Blomqvist. Like,
and then the
they
last
have no
two
loyalty to Jari.
Of 103 eligible goalies, that's all I'm going to say about Urson and Fedotov. Of 103 eligible goalies, that means goalies at least played one game. In goal save above expected, Fedotov finished 99th and Urson finished 103rd.
Also, to put this in perspective, Urson was worse than Georgiev. And you remember how bad Georgiev was. Like he single-handedly sunk Colorado. Then he went to San Jose, who was like you'd argue like San Jose is like an arguably a worse team than Philadelphia. And yet somehow Georgiev still had a slightly higher goal save than expected. And he played more games too.
You can make the argument that Rick Tocchet coming in will play a very defensive style, but his defensive styles only worked because he had Kemper Ronta and Thatcher Demko and Kevin Lankin. And like this is not that. And again, we're talking about another rebuilding team where assets are going to be shipped off and guys are going to have to go through, their young players are going to have to go through growing pains. I don't even want to touch these guys. Like, there's a chance I'd rather just stream starters, like starter backups week to week than like take these guys.
Yeah. If you draft these guys in your league, I'm sorry you're throwing.
You are praying. You are like going.
You're straight up throwing away your chances of winning the league. I'm not even going to say
you're like you need the Angels in the outfield. Like you need that scene where like where they carry Matthew McConaughey's character to like make the catch. They need to carry Samuel Urson and Ivan Fedotov to make saves. It's even worse because Fedotov's like 6'7", and he still struggles.
Yeah, I was going to say, I made this argument too. Like, he's 6'7". You argue that at least if you're big enough, you could just block
by default,
decent
right?
number of shots. Yeah, but no, apparently not. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if you saw, there was a clip a few years ago where they tried putting a sumo wrestler in net, and like obviously they still let in quite a bit of goals, even though they're quite big. But like you would think at least that situation where they'd at least stop a decent amount, just because like they cover more than net.
Like, I'm going to read you the defensive pairings projected by Daily Faceoff for these two guys. Sanheim and Cam York is their number one pairing. Nick Seeler and Jamie Drysdale is their number two. Dennis Gilbert and Noah Yulson is their number three pairing.
I don't even know who the last two guys are, to be honest with you. I couldn't tell you.
I mean, Noah Yulson, I think, played for the Habs, but besides the point. Like,
yeah, but even then, it's like
this is there's no upside to these guys. I think that's a fine place to end the rankings because that's kind of it, right? Like what that's our summation of the goalies and these tiers here. Again, I think there's different strategies you can take. One thing I just want to kind of touch on them. There's I call it the 82 start strategy, where you take a Hellebuck, you take a Shesterkin, you take an Ottinger, you can even take a Blackwood as a good example. Guys are good goalies on winning teams. You can draft their backup because no one's going to touch them. So you get 82 Av starts, 82 Jet starts, 82 Star starts, maybe to a lesser extent 82 Ranger starts. And you can grab any goalie you want in between. And I think that's a viable strategy. I think you can do the pairs strategy where you go the platoon route, where maybe you take Stolars and Wool and then pair them with a guy who gets volume. Like maybe you go Anderson Kochetkov and grab Kemper or something like that. That's a strategy as
Or
well.
I don't know, or like Veg Malka, just like volume merchant. Like just go for a volume merchant at that point.
Yeah, exactly. You can do things like that. You can do one where you kind of there you can just do an all swing one where you go, hey, I'm just gonna take Dostal, Askarov, and Greaves and like see what happens, right? There's a zero goalie strategy where you can try to like maybe later in the draft you can avoid drafting goalies at the beginning, load up on every other category, maybe punt hits, but load up on all the offensive categories, and then go, okay, I'm gonna start to try to find value in these later tiers. Maybe I take a Gibson Talbot and like
Check.
and maybe I take a swing on a Wallstat and see what happens. Maybe I take Dostal and hope he takes maybe I take like Decor Dostal and like Veg Melka or something, like something along those lines, right? So there's different ways you can take it. I don't think there's this wrong strategy either way. I just think if you're
there is one wrong strategy is drafting anybody apart from Knight in the poor jester category probably, but
I don't think there's a wrong strategy. I just think whatever strategy you have, unless there's a run on goalies that goes beyond belief, don't deviate from your strategy midway, because the worst thing you can do is like start to deviate and then find yourself in a worse position where maybe your plan was to go zero goalie, but maybe now you panic, you take a goalie in the fifth round who's not as good as some of the early ones, and now you've just kind of missed on prime real estate, maybe getting something else kind of thing. So I'd say just whatever strategy you have, unless something goes completely haywire, just try to stick to it. Whether it's 82 starts, whether it's zero goalie, whether it's just going volume merchants. Like you could just go Binnington, Vejmelka, and just try to stream and out volume guys week to week. You can just go all upside and go Demko, Greaves, Lankinen, and just pray. Like these are all viable options, but just whatever you have, like stick to it. And we'll kind of, as we get closer to the season, I'll kind of talk about what I like the most. But this is where we have these guys, and I think that's like, I think you can adjust them individually, maybe in the tiers, but I think the tiers are a good representation of how these guys are viewed.
Yeah, that's fair. And I've already taken a screenshot of these guys, so we can maybe come back at this at the end of the year and take a look and see where we might have went right and where we might have went wrong, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So that's all we're doing on the fantasy end here for this podcast. We're just going to wrap up with the Immaculate Grid. Our next fantasy podcast, we're going to start ranking the defensemen. And yeah, let's load it up.
Yep. So I'm just going to share it. Man, it's kind of crazy. We're already almost 2 hours and 45 seconds in. That's kind of crazy.
I will say fantasy stuff is a lot more, like, there's a lot, the combination of numbers and feels makes it such, which is fine. Okay.
So I pulled this one up because I think this is the all teams one. Let me set a timer for us and then we can start. Let me see. Clock. I'll give us a 5-minute timer. Starting now.
Okay. Well,
I'm looking at Carson Soucy.
Yeah.
Carson Soucy for New York and thing. Okay, let's do that one. I assume he played enough games last year with the.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Oh, damn. Gaborik was the obvious one.
Yeah, Gaborik was the one I was thinking of.
Devin Setaguchi.
For this one, right? Devin Setaguchi?
Devin Setaguchi. No, it's DVIN.
Wonder how many people are going to pick him. Okay, 8%. Interesting. What about Nico Sturm for Florida and Minnesota?
Yeah, that works.
I don't know how much he's going to be. I was thinking Eric Stahl originally, but I think that might be too high. Okay.
I mean, did Devin
Rangers
Levi ever play? No, he didn't play a game.
Levi got traded before he ever played a game with Florida Buffalo. I'm thinking for New York and Buffalo, we could go Martin Biron.
Yeah.
Because I remember, the only reason I know this one is because I remember Biron was in the game when Hurdle scored his fourth goal of the game or whatever, and then he retired like 2 weeks afterwards.
Sens Rangers Cam Talbot.
I'm assuming it's Martin Biron, right?
Yeah.
I'm not getting the wrong one. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, which one? Sens and Rangers?
Yeah.
Yeah, Talbot works. I'm just curious about
Talbot
this one.
Talbot's like the cheat code for like everything. Talbot's like...
let's see.
I mean...
Panthers... I'm going Brian Campbell for Sabres and Sharks.
Yeah, that's fine.
So far, so good. No, I haven't wrecked a rarity score yet. That's good.
Did Josh Norris play for the Sharks?
I don't think so. But I was gonna go with what was his name? Jonathan Chichu? I was thinking Jonathan Chichu. Yeah, because he got traded there, I think.
Oh, okay, sure.
Trust me on this one.
I don't remember this, but sure. Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. You're carrying this one. I am out to lunch here.
No, it's just the red. No, it's funny because the mid 2000 names are actually funny. Like those are the ones I'm more comfortable with. But the problem is I'm kind of blanking on Sabres and Panthers unless it's.
I mean, the
Reinhart.
obvious one's Reinhart, but we can't pick him.
Yeah, I don't want to put him there though. So it's like.
I'm trying to think if there are any goalies.
Did Kulikov play for the Sabres?
I think he did. Yeah.
Okay, let's take a shot on him then. Kulikov. Oh, and I think I have one for the Panthers and Senators, but I don't know if we want to go with this one. Do you have one or no? Is it
super obvious or?
I was going with Mike Hoffman.
Yeah.
Because the whole Ottawa tried to trade him away from the.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
because he got traded. Yeah. He got traded to the Sharks.
I'm thinking of the Sharks. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, then they traded him back to the conference. Oh, okay, so we got.
Say Cody Ceci as well, but.
Oh yeah, Ceci works too. Which one do you want, Hoffman or Ceci?
Let's go Ceci.
Which one do you? Let's go Ceci. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see what his rarity score.
Oh, did he miss? Did he not play? Oh, I was thinking of the Sharks. My bad.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Okay,
I'm so sorry. Okay, let's pick a different one. I fucked that one up.
Bro, our rarity score was so good until that happened. I don't know why I trusted you on that.
Sharks Sens because he played for. I'm sorry. Let's pick a different one. I fucked that up. That's all me.
Okay, but that one was pretty good until that.
I feel okay. That was when I fucked up the entire way because I didn't even help.
Let me just find.
Why are they doing all these numerical ones now? Have you noticed that?
No, man. You tell me. You tell me, bro. I don't want penalty minutes, bro. I don't want points. Okay, let's do show all. Let me just dig back here a little bit. Sure, this one. No, come on. And for reference, guys, I'm just kind of clicking randomly, so it's like I'm not even.
Dude, 100 penalty minutes is like you're picking some random ass dudes for some of those.
I'm just going for some random goon. Oh, whoops! I think I already clicked that one. Ugh. This one? No?
That's just kind of unfair because you can just pick guys like who just started. Like Jack Greaves would fit technically, right?
Bro, this 100 penalty minute one won't leave me alone. I keep seeing the 100-point one too, which is pissing me off. Okay, here. Oh my.
What's it? How many 100 penalties?
I'm just clicking on random ones too. Like I'm not even like.
Do you want to just? The thing is, I don't know specific number guys, so it's like I'd probably pick like.
Okay, there you go. This one.
But I don't see anything.
At least this one's like a team one. Okay, I'll start the timer for us in 3.
No, but I don't see anything.
Go. Oh, you don't see anything?
I don't see anything.
Oh, is it not popping up for you, or what's going on?
No.
Because for me, okay, so I don't know if I can. Okay, well, hold on 1 second.
There we go. There it is. Okay.
Oh, you see it now? Is it lagging or what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start the timer in 3,
Marian Hossa is the obvious one for this one.
Oh, for that one? Yeah, Hossa. I was trying to think. No, not this one. Sharks and Penguins.
Chris Osgood, Blues.
Okay, we'll go Chris Osgood.
Yeah.
4%. Okay, that's a good one. There you go. Jets and Blue. Okay, let's go Jets and. Did Brendan Dillon play for the Jets and the Devils?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Brendan Dillon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Ugh, fuck. Not great, but I was gonna joke Rutger McGroarty, but he's never played with the Jets. So that's kind of a joke one.
What's his name?
Did CC play for the Penguins? Or
Shen didn't. No, Shen didn't. Luke Shen. Wait, Luke Shen didn't play for any.
Wait, did Cody CC play for the Penguins or no? Or am I dumb?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Okay, do you want to just go Cody CC then?
Yeah, that's fine.
Imagine he fucks us up twice in a row. Okay, no, thank God. Okay. Red Wings and Penguins. We talked about Hossa, Red Wings, and Devils.
Man, it's probably
Brian Rafalski.
Brian Rafalski played for both. Yeah, Brian.
But is that an obvious name though? Because like
I don't
Rafalski's
know,
a good
but I
player.
can't think of. We can hold on it. No.
Rafalski.
Wait, no. Rafi Torres didn't play for the. No, Rafi
Torres played for the Sharks.
I don't know.
He played for the Sharks, but I don't think he played for the Blues.
Tyson Nash played. No, Tyson Nash didn't play for the Sharks.
The Jets and Blues one. Okay, so the Jets were the Coyotes at one point. Is there any Coyotes?
Sharks, Devils. Did Kelly Rudy?
Kelly Rudy. He played for the Kings. I know that, but then.
Okay, try this one. Let's just try it. Sharks and
would Keith Kachuk work for the Blues and Jets?
No, because he didn't. Did he play? Oh, yeah, he did play for the Thrashers. Yeah, I guess he would.
Well, not Thrashers. I mean, well, it's the it's Thrashers. Sorry, it's not the.
Yeah.
Why am I thinking the Coyotes? Okay, I'm dumb. Wait, did he play?
Okay, I want to try one. Devils, Sharks. Try Chris Terreri.
Chris Terreri.
Terrr.
This one?
Yeah, try that. Yes, yes.
Okay. I don't know why I thought the Coyotes became the Jets. I don't know if I'm just thinking of when they tried to move it
Jets
in more.
Became the
Coyotes,
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, the original Jets became the Coyotes. Yeah, this isn't the original
Jets organization. It's just so weird because a lot of their players have been pretty insular recently.
Thrashers Blues. Is there any weird Thrashers players? Did Ray Ferraro ever play for the Blues?
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I'll just go Brian Rafalski for this one because I can't think of one to save my life.
Did anyone play for the Thrashers and the Penguins?
Oh, fuck.
He had to. Shout out to my bald brother, Brian Rafalski.
We have a minute 44 left, so...
Not Kozlov, not Woolley, not Lethinen.
Sharks, Blues.
Sharks, Blues. Did Roman Turek play for the Sharks? No, right?
No, I definitely remember him on the Blues. Yeah. I remember him on the Blues when he let in the goal against fucking Owen Nolan from
against the Sharks. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Did Domfus play for the Blues?
I feel like he surely did, right?
Let's
give it a shot.
I don't know. Let's wait on that one. I'm just trying to think if there's anyone more obvious.
Red Wings and Penguins. Is there anyone we're missing? Like Red Wings, Penguins? We have a minute, by the way.
Ian Cole, that Cole guy. Or Ian White?
Who?
No,
which one?
Ian Cole or Ian White? No. One of those, that Cole, like defenseman Cole guy, I'm sure. No. Eric Cole played for both? No, he played for the Pens, but not the Wings. Shoot.
I'm blanking. This is tough. Do you want to just throw Hossa and just take it? Like, take the L?
Sure.
Because we just can't think of anybody else.
The most
35, yeah, that's kind of...
That's a very good headshot.
Okay, so now we have 18 seconds left for 2. Do you want to just go Domfus and just try and see if it works?
Don't think it's reality.
Nope, no Domfus. Right. And then this one, I can't think of one either. Like, it was Rucker and McGordy for Brady and Yeager. Yeah, Yeager didn't play for either. Didn't play for one of them either.
Yeah.
And that's time. Man, we are shit.
I was gonna say Rasmus Kupari, but
Give up.
I don't think he played for. No, he plays for the Kings, right?
Okay, do we want redemption for one more? Because we're already about to hit the 3-hour mark, anyways.
That's so
Some
sad.
redemption for. Man, we are terrible today. Oof.
I mean, the first one was good. I just fucked it up, so I'm gonna.
I wasn't very good on the second one, to be fair, either. So it's like I didn't really help on the second. Oh, this one's a cheat one. Nope. I think I have to go far back, because further back is where you get majority of the only team ones.
Yeah, it feels like they're getting lazy with them now, for sure.
See, okay, even then, there's another. I clicked on a random one in December, and that's another only. Yeah, see, even this one, like they're just. Come on, I'm going far back too. It's like, is there a way to filter on only the team ones? Like, oh, this one, sure, we'll go with this one. Actually, wait, we'll wait for you to see it. Can you see this one or no?
Yeah, I can see it. You're fine.
Okay, you want to go this one then?
Sure.
Okay, 5 minutes starting now. Senators, Ducks, Blackhawks, Ducks.
Not Sean
Senators,
Burke.
I mean, Hosta also works for this one too. The Senators,
I was
Blackhawks
thinking
will
that
probably
too.
wait on that one.
Havlat.
For the this one.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, that's a nice one. Ducks, Penguins. Would Ducks Penguins be Brian Dumoulin?
Yeah.
I don't know how to spell his name.
Dumo. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, let me make sure I don't click on something. Oh, damn. Okay, that's a nice one.
There's some serious
Kings. Okay, so it's lag for you. Okay.
Yeah. There's definitely Blackhawks Penguins. Like they've shared a lot of like I don't want to say the same guy. Like there was some cup like interspersing there.
It's funny because Hossa also works for that one too.
Yeah. I think it's just like the
Marion Hossa is the answer for all of these pretty much. Kings and Blues. Kings and Blues. Wayne Gretzky works technically, but
Dimitra.
Oh, Pavel Dimitra? Yeah, okay.
Dimitra.
Pavel Dimitra. Okay, 3%. Nice.
Scuderi played for the Kings and the Pens.
Yes, Rob Scuderi. Yeah, okay. Kings, Senators. Cam Talbot?
Yes.
I don't know. Like,
sorry, it's
the only name I can
think. It's funny because it's just like
we've pulled his name. So well, Talbot works, right? I can think. I'm pretty sure. Oh fuck, 17%, motherfucker.
It's just like the laziest one. It's like, oh yeah, he just for sure.
Is there any Ducks guys that have played recently on the Sens, or like any Sens guys that recently?
Silverberg.
Yeah, Jakob. Oh, Silver. I was thinking Silverberg too. Right? I was actually just about to say Jakob Silverberg. Silver. Man, his teeth.
Blues. There had to be a goalie that played for the Blues and Blackhawks. I'm like just completely blanking on that.
Not Crawford. Not. I'm trying to think of who have been the Blackhawks goalies recently.
No, not Hackett or Tebow. Obviously not Belfour.
Blues. Curtis Joseph was the Blues goalie, but he didn't play for any of these ones listed either. The Ducks and Blues. Oh, Ducks and Blues is Paul Correa, but that's like
very obvious.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like,
did Hanzus play for the Blues?
I don't know. That I don't know. Martin, you're talking about Martin Hanzus, right?
Michael Hanzus.
Or is that Michael? Sorry, Michael. My bad. I can't get names to say.
I'm getting the Reichels confused because Robert Reichel, I think, played for the Blues, but I think Lucas Reichel played for the Blackhawks.
Yeah, Lucas Reichel played for the Blackhawks. Yeah, Lucas Reichel played for the Blackhawks, but he's only played on the Blackhawks, so he wouldn't work anyways, right?
I'm trying to think. What is going on today?
I'm blanking. Like, okay, how much time do we have left? Let's see. Minute 30 something.
Hedberg, no.
Well, it's actually funny because I think I just realized Blackhawks Penguins is Marc-Andre Fleury.
Oh yeah.
But is there anybody else we're missing? Like any other kind of like not so obvious names?
Guy that like played on the Cup teams between the two, like or at least like tried to, you know what I mean? Because those two were contenders back and forth for a year, like not back and forth, but like
Oh, I have a random one.
Did Jamal Mayers play for the Blackhawks?
He played for the Blues for sure.
Yeah.
No, Mayer, I think he did, didn't he?
I could just be getting the I don't want to say I could be getting the Black players confused, but like it's a possibility.
Do you want to try Penguins and Blackhawks Sam Lafferty?
Sure. Why not?
Because like I'm just thinking random Leaf guys I've seen and okay.
The Leafs knowledge. Haha.
Coming in clutch.
Only the Stars knowledge came as in clutch here, but unfortunately, no.
We have 30 seconds, by the way. 30 seconds left.
I mean...
I'm just trying to think. I mean, Chris Pronger works too, but that's like, again, super obvious one. Oh, wait, yeah. Ryan Miller. Miller.
Yeah.
I forgot about that because the fucking Ducks tenure is always what I forget about. No, it's just okay. That's not bad. Didn't kill our rarity score either. Okay, down to the last one. We have 2 seconds left, and that's time.
I'm just trying to think.
Okay, we'll just finish off on this one. We'll see what happens. Blackhawks and Blues.
Stillman?
Corey Stillman?
Maybe. I don't know. Again, I don't know if he played for the Blackhawks. He played a bunch of teams. Did Mike Sillinger play for the Blackhawks? If he did, then we're fine. If he did.
Well, Sillinger played for the Blues for sure, but Blackhawks. I feel like he definitely did, right?
Just throw him in there and see what happens. Just throw him in there. No.
Oh, fuck.
Okay,
No,
this is just...
okay, it's just not our day today, guys.
Just one of those days, yeah. All right. Yeah, so
Okay, I
that's our
think we'll wrap it up
podcast.
here.
You got to watch us do a very in-depth fantasy goalie tiers, but a very crappy immaculate grid. So, best of both worlds there.
Yeah.
All right. Our next podcast, like on the hockey side, on the non-fantasy side, we'll probably talk about just the. I think we're gonna talk about the Hockey Canada, the trial decision, and then we'll also talk about the guys we think are the biggest swing guys in the league. So as I call them, the pendulums, the guys who are going to swing. Probably like the way they play is going to have the biggest swings on teams' outcomes during the season. And I think for fantasy next time, we're going to do our defenseman tier, but we're going to cut it off at like probably top 50, I think. Or even less, probably top 35, something in that range for sure.
Well, I'd probably say top 30, top 40. I think there's, I think, was it 30? Is there 32 teams in the league? So like, again, there's 32 PP1 like caliber defensemen, and then a couple extra guys that are worth mentioning, right? I think 40
so probably 35, 50. And we'll definitely, like, this was probably our first tier list, so this one was a lot longer. We'll probably zoom through that one a lot more. And if you stayed in long for this one, you are as dedicated to the fantasy. You're like chomping at the bit for fantasy hockey like we are. So again, appreciate you guys checking in. I'm SJ. It's co-host WillyDubz there, and we are signing out for the night. Later.
All right. Peace, guys. See you guys later.